Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, John.
Good evening.
You're live, Bob. Where did he go? Did we lose Bob?
Yep,
Up there he is.
he's back.
We lost his
Bob, you're
audio.
muted.
He's not muted. He lost his audio.
Oh.
Bob, this is Earl. Nod your head if you can hear me. I'm having Ryan give you a call.
It's never easy, Nora.
No. Keeps it exciting though.
This is not my definition of exciting.
Okay. It's just trying to be positive.
Good thing we started earlier.
Hello, Chads.
How's it going, Nora?
Good.
Well, Bob's back in a picture. Can you hear us, Bob? No.
No, he can hear his audio is not working.
The way the microphone thing works is it tries to record you, and then when you click it again, it does a playback. Oop, I think I heard you. Okay. Hold out.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh.
And you're all set.
Okay. We're on to the special meeting. It starts at 7 p.m. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and it is conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 at 7, New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Nora, you want to do your little spiel about how the people can get on?
Sure. This announcement is for the members of the public who have joined this meeting on their computer and selected to use the phone option for audio. If you dialed into the system using your phone, you will not be able to raise your hand to comment. To have the ability to raise your hand and comment, you must do the following: leave the meeting, rejoin the meeting. When selecting audio, choose the option to have the system call you and input the phone number you wish to be called on. This option will pair your computer with your phone and will allow you to raise your hand if you wish to comment during the public session.
Okay, Nora, you want to call the roll?
Is Berkowitz there? Jaskowitz.
Here.
Kaplan? Parikh?
Here.
Reddy?
Present.
Snyder?
Here.
Willens?
Here.
Ira Kane?
Present.
We also have with us our board planner, Mr. Chadwick, our board engineer, Mr. Holloway, and our board attorney, Mr. King.
Okay, we don't have any, what you call us to do this time, the resolutions. We're going to go right into the cases. First case is application 2120 Cheryl and Robert Metro 2 Ashland Road. C variance to install bracketed replace a 6-foot solid vinyl fence. Are the applicants on the call?
Yes, we are.
Will you both be providing testimony, both Robert and Cheryl?
We are both here. Yes.
Okay, if you could both raise your right hands.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give before the board is the truth so help you God?
Yes,
And for the record, you're Cheryl and Robert Mitchell, and you're the owner of 2 Ashland Road, the subject property?
yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, the 2 witnesses have been sworn.
Okay, why don't you tell us a little bit about the application? I'm reading something about the fence was in place prior to you buying the home. Give us a little background.
Okay, we purchased the house in 2005. And when we purchased it, this stockade fence was up around the backyard, and it's been in place since then. A few years ago, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, we installed an in-ground pool, permitted and everything. Our fence was inspected. We had just made the assumption that it was inspected. Well, it was all one department, right? So it was really just inspected for the safety of the pool from the building department. Now we know that, but we didn't at the time. So the fence is very old and it needs to be replaced. And when we had the fencing company come and we planned everything, we went to get the permit and we found out that there was part of the fence that doesn't have the appropriate setback. And because we're on a corner, both sides are considered front, also what we didn't know. But in the meantime, when we did the pool, we put in pavers and walkways. The patio was there. Everything was already here. So what we want to do is just,
So you're on the corner of Winding Way and Ashland Road, is that correct?
that's correct.
And the pool is the pool directly behind the home?
It's to
No.
the other side.
It's the other side.
Bob, this is John. I think the issue here is, have you built the paver and the patio part is right up tight to the existing fence?
Yes,
Yeah, well, no, we didn't.
That's why you don't want to be 6 inches off the property line. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay.
No, no,
The
no.
other-
You know what? I think we're not explaining it appropriate. If you would be able to let me share my screen, I have some photos to be able to show you. I don't know if that's helpful or not.
That'd be great. The only thing you're gonna have to do at some point is get those pictures to Nora so that we can have them as evidence. Okay, that won't be a problem, right?
Yep, no, but we're going to mark them as A1.
A1, fine.
Okay. So let's see, 1 second. I'm gonna go here. And this will start, I don't know if you could see, this is from our driveway.
We can't see.
You cannot?
Not me.
No. Does Earl have to give them access to? Does
I
Earl
did.
have to? You would
I
did.
did.
Okay,
Go to share screen, and then
Uh-huh.
it should give you a picture of the screen you want to share, and you select that. That should work.
Okay, here we go. Okay, everybody seeing it now?
yes.
Yep.
Okay, so this is standing from Ashland Road, and where the black car is, behind that is Winding Way. So what we're talking about is this area right here. And this is an AC unit that was also there when we moved here.
Can I ask you, what is the span there? How many feet does that little piece of,
I can go measure it if you.
can you tell me approximately how much that is? How many feet that is?
Well,
6 to 8. Bob, it looks like that piece encroaches to the front yard by
Yeah.
about a foot.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's covered up by landscaping, obviously.
right. All right, you continue with your pictures, okay?
okay. The next one. Let me go back to. Hold on 1 second. This is the back where the old, and this is a new fence that we could only go so far, so the fencing company stopped there. So this is the view from Winding Way. So
You can't even see the fence,
you can't even see the fence.
okay? And is that the entire amount that encroaches on the front yard?
Yes,
Yeah, the real variance, Bob, is they want to put it on the property line as opposed to 6 inches away. Is there any photos in the backyard that show the patio going right up to the fence?
no, well,
Have you
this is
just-
far, this also under here, I don't know if you could see my cursor, is when we did the pool, we leveled the backyard as well. So this is a retaining wall.
Do you, have you discussed the fence with your neighbors at all?
Yeah,
And did I have any problems with it?
they do not.
Okay. You know, I'll be honest with you, Mrs. Mitchell. We don't like 6-foot fences when they face the street.
Mhm.
However, in this case, and I'm speaking for myself, not necessarily for the whole board yet, the amount of vegetation that you have and the de minimis amount of fence that we're talking, I think this is clearly an exception. Does anybody have any comments or questions about this?
No,
Any-
I do. Yeah, I agree with the chairman. I mean, first of all, I think this fence is rather tastefully done. I like the fact that we've got the natural growth in front of this fence. Unlike the chair, I don't think there's a hard, fast rule in regards to some of these fences because I think our township has evolved from the sleepy little community where Eastern New Jerseyans used to, come here just to enjoy lake. Now it's a little bit busier, more robust. We got a lot of busy roads. But I think that this is almost de minimis in nature and it looks nice. And from the road, it doesn't look like stockade fencing.
It's what I always want with this fence. I want people to put vegetation out so that in a few years, we don't see the fence, but they still have all the privacy. Any other questions by the board? Any members of the public have any questions of this witness on the testimony given, nor are there any hands?
No hands.
Mrs. Mitchell, there's nothing else you'd like to add, right?
I was going to show just that, just
Say no.
No,
Say-
nothing else. Nothing else.
Someone like to make a recommend, are there any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to this application or in support of this application?
No hands.
No hands. Someone like to make a recommendation on this de minimis request?
Sure, I think it is de minimis in nature. It is hidden behind vegetation, tastefully done, and I will be voting for it.
Very good. Next, someone frame a resolution so we can move on. We got a few more cases to do this half hour.
Sure. Application 21:20 Cheryl Robert Mitchell, 2 Ashland Road, Block 421.2, Lot 1, R3, that we grant a C variance to install, replace, and legalize the 6-foot solid fence contrary to sections 430-11, A, B, and D.
Second, Josh.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Any discussion? Nora, call the roll.
Jaskowitz,
Yes.
Kaplan, Parikh,
Yes.
Reddy,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Willens,
Yes.
Hurricane.
Yes. The result is the variance is granted. We will memorialize this at our next meeting in July. You will be able at that point to get the necessary zoning permits. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
very much.
Thank you very much. I do have one question. So we can't call the fence company back yet. Is that correct?
Realistically and legally, you're not
Okay.
supposed to. You're not supposed to.
Okay, I understand.
That's on you. I mean,
Okay.
you know you're getting a zoning permit and you don't need a building permit, right? So it's on you, okay?
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Nope,
Take care.
no problem. That's why we're here.
Thank
Take
you.
care now.
Bye.
All righty. I did forget one thing. Are there any members of the public who wish to, any members of the public who wish to speak on any matter that's not on this agenda? No hands, right?
Nope.
No hands. Okay. Harara is being carried or we just delete it?
It's off for tonight.
Off. Stephen Gilson, 587 Littleton Road. C variance to construct an above-ground pool. Mr. Gilson, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Thank
If
you.
you-
Good evening.
If you could raise your right hand, you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before the courts, before this board is the truth so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And for the record, you're the owner of the subject property, 587 Littleton Road?
I am.
Mr. Chairman, he's been sworn.
All right, Mr. Gilson, you're in an R4 zone. Mr. Chadwick, 20,000 square feet, right?
Yeah, I think we'll get to the reason he needs a variance is increasing lot coverage. And we've taken the position that the water surface is not impervious, but the zoning requires it. It's putting a above ground pool in the backyard. So it's an area and that's what increases the lot coverage.
Why is this an R4 neighborhood? That's kind of strange. I'm trying to see if he's got a,
Conforming lot?
Yeah,
He
he
doesn't.
doesn't. He doesn't?
No, I don't know
No.
how much below it is, but it would have to.
Okay.
It's-
Mr.
it's-
Gilson, do you understand what we're saying? There's two issues that are kind of in your favor. One, a pool is not a true impervious thing. It's a water collector. So it's, the chances of there being significant runoff from the pool are slim. Secondly, you're an undersized lot. If you had a conforming lot, you may not be here. The other thing is it's not that significant of an increase it's only 4% increase over what's existing. I assume this is for your family, for the enjoyment of your family. I guess you have
I have
kids.
a 4-year-old son.
Oh, good. That's nice. He'll love this pool. Make sure you put those swimmies on his arms, though, okay?
Yes, sir.
And you will properly drain the pool when necessary, or if you're backwashing it or anything, you'll make sure you don't have any runoff into neighbor's property or anything like that. And are you gonna
Correct.
significantly change the topography of the land? Or is it just gonna be a minor leveling?
No, it's a minor leveling. They don't even have to. I spoke to a construction group. They said they would only have to pick up the grass and maybe put a little sand down. The backyard's pretty much level.
Great. Any other questions by the board? No questions. Any members of the public have any questions of this witness on the testimony given?
No hands.
I hear none and see none. De minimis, another de minimis request. Someone make a de minimis comment.
I will be voting in favor of this request. As you said, it's very de minimis, and basically an above ground pool really doesn't increase impervious coverage at all, so we've already ruled.
Someone frame a resolution, please.
Sure, in application 2124, Stephen Gilson, 587 Littleton Road, block 213, lot 2, zone R4, that we grant a C variance to construct an above-ground pool contrary to section 430-35, column 13.
Second, Johnson.
Any discussion? Nora, call the roll.
Jaskowitz,
Yes.
Parikh,
Yes.
Ready,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes,
Willens,
Yes,
Irakim.
Yes. Result is the variance is granted. We'll memorialize this at our next meeting, and then you'll be free to proceed, but you can get your ducks in a row at this point, so you can start construction as soon as possible. Don't want to lose too much of the summer. Good luck to you.
Thank you guys very much.
You're welcome. Application 2121, Pratibha Patel, 27 Adelphia, C variance to legalize a new single-family dwelling with front porch and open deck. Legalize, okay? What does that mean?
Ma'am,
Is Mr. Patel here?
yes.
Hi there, how are you?
Good, how are you, sir?
sir and ma'am, who's going to provide testimony?
I will. I'm their daughter, Sonali.
Okay, could you raise your right hand?
Yes.
Do you swear affirm testimony you're about to give before the board's true so help you God?
Yes.
And you either live or are an owner of the subject property?
Yes.
All right. And who is the owner of the property? Your parents?
Yes.
Okay, and you're just going to help provide testimony, and you know all the facts that you're going to testify to?
Yes, we're also here with our architect, our surveyor, and our builder, just for any further details that you guys might need.
Okay, if they testify, they're also going to have to be sworn in, but Mr. Chairman, this witness is sworn in.
Okay, Sonali,
Pete, I think you might want to swear all those guys in.
Okay. Could I have the architect's name?
Mr. Jeffrey Gogan, I believe his audio and video aren't enabled.
Well, okay. How do you spell his last name?
Gogan.
Okay. Can he hear me? Can he come into your camera?
Yes.
Jeff, come here.
Mr. Gogan, if you raise your right hand, you swear firm testimony you're about to give before the board's true help you God?
I do.
And you're a architect, all your licenses are in full force and effect?
Yes,
And you've been either qualified before this board or other boards in the state of New Jersey?
yes, I have.
Okay, you're qualified. You have an engineer?
Yep, that's me.
What-
How you doing?
Good, what's your name?
My name is Anthony DeVizio.
Could you raise your right hand? You swear firm testimony you're about to give before the board's true help you God?
I do.
And you're a licensed engineer?
Licensed engineer and land surveyor, both are in full force and effect.
Great, and you've been qualified before either this board or other boards in New Jersey?
I have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. He is also qualified. And who else?
That's it, I think.
That's all.
That's all. Okay, very good. They're all sworn, Mr. Chairman.
So in reading through this, it looks like you were granted a variance to put a house on this property, which is in an R4 zone, which I think is a minimum of 20,000 square feet. And it looks like your lot is nowhere near that big. And you went ahead and you built a house, and it didn't conform to what you were granted in the way of the variances. I think you're gonna need to explain a little bit to us.
Why don't I take the lead on that? Okay. Hey, how you doing? I'll take the lead on it for matters of site planning. We're dealing with issues of lot coverage. My understanding is, and I was brought in a little bit later into the process after construction had begun. There was an original plan by one Joseph O'Mahony that was approved prior, and there was some minor deviation from it. To go through the lot coverage issues at hand, there was overall improved lot coverage. It's my understanding there was a variance granted prior, as opposed to the required 40%. There was a 46.7% coverage that was approved prior. We are still going to meet that, so that would be a continuance. It's 46, still 46.7 overall.
Okay.
We have the building coverage now, which there's a minor deviation from what was previously approved. Previously approved on the O'Mahony plan was 29.3% for building coverage. And that is the combination of the building area and the porch on those numbers. That was 29.3. We are now proposing 29.9. And the reasoning for that was the rear steps to the basement, which you can see at the rear left corner of the building. Those were actually constructed as covered. And that's what, so now they're required to be counted towards building coverage.
That's a kind of a de minimis request though, right?
Yeah.
0.6%.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. And then, for what it's worth also, I believe it's more aesthetically pleasing. It's a safer product, keeps the elements out. So you're not relying on a drain that's led by, driven by an electric pump, to get the water out. It's, I think it's a, definitely better product at the end of the day. And dare I say, probably unnoticeable to anybody. So that covers the building coverage. I also believe that there was another requirement where the building and deck areas together are not supposed to exceed 24% of the lot area. It's my further understanding that I guess that was overlooked in its entirety during the first round of approval when the O'Mahony plan was presented. So we want to legitimize that in this process. Based on the numbers as they stand, the prior plan, the O'Mahony plan, had deck plus building at about 36.8%. And we are currently at 35.5%. So the deviation still exists, but it's less intense now as opposed to the originally approved plan. Otherwise, it's a conforming lot. The setbacks are all at or greater than what was originally approved. So we're pretty on the money with all that stuff. It was constructed.
What about the 2.5 stories versus 3 stories?
That I'm going to defer to the architect because it's a matter of
Okay.
architecture. Mr. Gogan will testify to that. I'm just handling.
Hey, does the board have any questions of this witness?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. So we're referring to the originally approved plan. Does Mr. Chadwick agree that we have that plan? Because we don't have that in this packet to refer to.
No, but there is a table in this packet, and his testimony confirms that table.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions by the board?
I have one, Mr. Hull. Is there a survey of the property? Because I'm looking at the plan, it doesn't have the property lines outlined.
Yeah, the property lines are on here, and the meets and bounds are on here as well. You're looking at the plan by Anthony M. DeVizio?
No, I don't have the plan. I have just the, what was provided for the meeting excerpts.
Okay, I think we could bring that up on screen if you'd like to see it.
I would if everybody else would like to see it.
Yeah.
Mr. Holloway, if you want to see it, we want to see it.
Yeah, please bring that up, sir.
I can share my screen. Oh, you have it?
Jeff, you do, Jeff.
Do it? Okay. Do you see the screen?
I got a gray screen.
Do you see my
Gray
screen?
screen.
No, gray screen.
Okay, I just hit the share. It says I'm sharing my screen.
Jeff, this is IT. When you hit share, it should give you a picture of what you want to share.
There it is.
There you go.
You got it? Okay. Let's see if I can scroll back now and find that. You're looking for your plan, right?
Yes.
Right, plan of the property.
This is
You missed
it.
it.
There you go.
There you go.
All right.
So originally, the plan was based off an older survey from the 60s or whatnot. I went out there myself, also located at the 2 front property corners, and just verified that it was legit.
Mr. Holloway?
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you, Mr. Holloway. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So I have a question about the storm drainage. Is hooked up to the sump pump and the roof drains, does it just go to the curb? Or to the, it looks like there's a storm inlet in front of the property.
Yeah, the one side is going through the storm drain, the other side will go out through the curb.
No, I definitely highly recommend it all go to the storm drain. Because we can avoid icing and other plumbing problems if that's a sump pump and the roof drain connected to that line.
I understand the concerns. Most of the site work is done at this point in time. If I could provide any insight from my experience, I'm a municipal engineer also. I haven't really experienced many problems with roof drain. Sump pump discharge, it can be problematic. Do you have the sump pump going to that too?
That's what the plan says.
Down to the ground.
Yeah, the sump pump is not going out to the street. It's just roof leaders.
Right.
Again, I've found in my experience, when it's warm enough to rain, it rains, it runs off. The sump pump is when it's taking warmer groundwater that would otherwise potentially be discharged to a below freezing street. And then, I've dealt with the problems myself time and time again with ice dams, but it's typically from sump pump discharge, for what it's worth.
Right. So where are we? So are you going to connect it to the inlet?
The downstream
reason.
side, well, because of the pitch of the road as well, that one side of the house will never make the grades. That's the other problem. But again, what I'm saying is, I mean, it's my testimony. I really don't foresee an icing problem because again, we're not going to take sump pump discharge. It's just roof leaders. The uphill side of the house, we are able to make the grades, and that's going into the to the drain directly.
I would need a revised plan because right now the plan says that the sump pump is going into that line.
Was that the way it was constructed?
Sump pump is going onto the, I have a pit, I made a pit in the backyard, that's where the sump pump water is going, into the ground.
Okay, so
It's got a
sorry, so it's
drywall?
constructed a little different than the plan. I'll revise that.
What was it, a drywall in the back, out the back? Type thing?
Yeah, there's a drywall in the back, right?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah, drywall in the back, right.
Right,
Again,
it doesn't, there's no dry well shown on the, is there enough room for a dry well? I'm looking at the property lines.
Again, this was apparently constructed a little bit differently than, I mean, this plan is going back a little ways. Some of it's based on as-built, some of it was based on plan, so I can revise that and update it. Where roughly was the
It's on the left side of the deck, in the back, way in the back.
okay, it's in the back of the property, I'm told, just
Very back
off the
of the
left
property.
corner of the deck.
Mr. Holloway, can we make this, if we approve it, subject to a revised, what site
Yeah, I can
plan?
look at that. Plus also we have to, always look into the fact of the minor, instead of a major development, minor development scenario with the township engineer. So, yeah, I can look at that. You can make it subject to a revised plan being submitted that I can take a look at.
John, are you in agreement with that? Where's John? John Chadwick, you hear me?
Yes,
You're in agreement?
yeah, I think you need to get back to that 3-story versus 2.5.
Yes, that's the next thing is, are you through, Mr. Holloway?
Yes, I am.
Okay, all right, let's talk about the 3-story versus 2.5 story.
All right, I'll give it up to the architect.
Is that Mr. Gogan? Are you, can't hear you, Mr.
Mr.
Gogan.
Gogan, you're muted.
You're muted. Mr. Gogan, you're muted.
We're still sharing the screen from before. Maybe you can't get out of that.
Okay,
There we
I'm
go.
gonna share again now, okay?
Okay.
You see it?
Yes.
Okay, so this last issue that was raised by Jennifer goes back to what our intention was and what we represented to the board in 2014 for the attic, the way the attic was going to be used. So I want to scroll up to the 2014 documents. Should be up the top here. So this is the 2014 presentation to the board. And I'm just going to go down here and show that, basically here's the basement. The stair we were just talking about was added right here. Everything was built pretty much as you see it here. So this was the attic. I'm sorry, this was a plan that was, it's dated 14. I'm pretty sure this was part of it. So sorry, it's going back so many years, but essentially this was the intention, and I'm not sure that this sheet was there at the hearing, but this sheet was there, and we showed the large dormer here and the roof coming up off of the attic floor with this dormer here, and then the gable ends on each side. And we did call it a partially habitable attic here with permanent stair from front bedrooms. So there's a bedroom here and a bedroom here. I'll go back to that plan. So we had these 2 bedrooms in the front, and you had to go through those 2 bedrooms into these two doors, and either bedroom could access the attic from their bedroom. So that's a permanent stair that goes up. And I think we had another reference to it, but here's the side view with the attic. So basically what we presented to the board is what we call a half story. And it meets with the definition in Parsippany of what a half story is, which I have here somewhere if you'd like to see it. But basically it just says that if the rafters sit on a knee wall that's 4 feet or less off the attic floor, it's not a full story, like a third story. But I think Jennifer was using the term third floor in a nominal way after the building department asked about it. So essentially the house was built substantially like you see it here, except that there was a few changes to the rear, but nothing that was questioned by Jennifer. And so what triggered the question by the building department was, as I scroll through, these are the developed plans that came along a little bit later, before the construction documents, and then we had the set that was submitted with the where we went in with the change to the stair going into the basement off the corner. That was August of 2019, and we got that approved by the zoning. And then we developed the plans. These are all the construction documents that were submitted at the end of 2019. So, of course, all these documents were taken to zoning before they went to the building department. And we understood that they did understand that this was a habitable attic. It was shown that way on the construction documents before the permit was issued.
I have a couple of questions. You're saying that the way the house was built is the way the plans were submitted back in 2014. Is that
there is a difference. I can explain the difference to you, but here, I just want to point out here that in this original attic plan from 2019, before the permits, there is no closet or bathroom shown up in this area of the attic. That was an afterthought that came along later, which I'm going to show you, and that's what triggered the building department question. So
so this is going to be livable space on the third floor?
yes, it's finished livable space, but it's what's called a habitable attic, which means that under the Uniform Construction Code, it's technically considered part of the second floor because we're limited to 1/3 of the area of the floor below. And that's what a habitable attic is. So we've been closely monitoring this and working with Bob Hohenleitner to make sure that we satisfy that definition, so that we are not creating a third floor under the Uniform Building Code, under the Uniform Construction Code, the International Residential Code.
Are you saying the floor area in that third floor is less than 1/3 of the floor below?
Yes, and the way you calculate that is you take the area that is 7 feet or higher headroom. That's how the International Residential Code definition of habitable attic.
So that shaded area is the only area that you consider.
Yes, this shaded area is the part that's 7 feet or higher, and that's the only part you have to count for that calculation.
Well, the definition in zoning and the definition in the building code don't match. You know that.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
The definition of a story in the zoning code and the definition in the building code are not identical.
Right, they are not identical.
They're not even close.
I have the half story.
What is the petitioning in the attic area now? Do you have that plan?
Yes.
Can we see that?
Yes. Okay. So let me just scroll down. These are all the original construction drawings that the permit was based on.
While you're scrolling, maybe we can multitask. What permits have been issued for this home? Do you have a TCO?
We were told we would be given a TCO by Terrence Coletta, but I don't believe it has been issued yet. We're still going through some very final inspections, but we've been obtaining all the final inspections.
Nobody's in the house at this point.
No.
Have you got a fire sign on?
Yes, we have a lot of the prior sign-offs, a lot of the final inspections are underway, a few little corrections and re-inspections taking place.
How do you exit that attic? Parsippany for years has not permitted 3 stories. And for the particular reason of people getting trapped on the third.
Could I just, as I'm scrolling, I just want to point out something, and then I'm going to come back to that. But if on the riser diagrams for the construction permit, we did show proposed future bathroom on the attic level, but we weren't going to put it in yet. We were just going to stub out to avoid having to disturb the second floor later. So we did anticipate putting a bathroom on the 3rd floor on the sets that were approved for the building permit in end of 2019, early 2020. And that was shown on the sanitary riser and the water supply riser. And then, but we didn't show it on the plan yet because it was future. Same thing in the basement. We have a future bathroom plan and a piece or HVAC. So
Well,
now,
this is starting to sound like a 2-family house to me.
no, it's not a 2-family. It's a single-family house.
Yeah, it's starting to sound like a 2-family though.
And coming back to the attic question, we satisfy the building code requirements for exiting. We have a single stair, the interior compliant stair from the. Let me go down there. I'm going to go to the most recent attic plan. This was the one that was the as-built. Okay. So after talking to Bob Hohenleiter about it, we realized that when the framer built the roof, he came up just a little higher than we expected. And so we talked to the DCA about it and Bob, and we all agreed that if we were to build some rooms that don't have to be counted as part of the habitable area. So we decided to just frame these 2, what we call closets right now. But we anticipated where we would put fixtures in the future if they want to put a bathroom there.
So can I just interrupt and back up for 1 second, please? Is so that I'm focusing on the correct thing. Is it the height of the home that makes it a problem that it becomes a 3-story, or is it the use of the attic as livable space that makes it the 3rd story?
I believe the way the building staff and Jennifer were looking at it, it was the way the attic was being used.
John,
We don't have a height problem. We did not raise the height of the building.
John,
I mean, Jennifer basically looked at it and said, this is another story. It's the 4-foot knee walls and what have you. I mean, the building code allows them to make their calculation where you see that hashed area or shaded area. That's all he has to count to get his units.
Right.
Zoning looks at it from the outside petitions that are that 4-foot knee wall or less. And the picture you have up now, sheet A4, is the way it has been. If we went into the building today, this is what it looks like.
Yes.
Open, but for the closets that have a provision to change over to a bathroom.
Right. Well, right now we do have the closet walls and the closet doors installed. That was done with Bob's supervision, but we have not put the bathroom in yet. We just have it stubbed out for future. The plumbing is stubbed out.
Okay.
Are you looking for a variance today to put the bathroom in there or not?
We're not aware of any zoning ordinance that requires a variance, even for as she cited the 3rd floor, but we don't agree that should be called a 3rd floor, but I think she meant it nominally that it's a 3rd level of the house, but it's really a half a story, and it is allowed in the zone, a half a story, and habitable attics are allowed under the code. So we never even questioned it from very early when we first appeared before the board. We were thinking of this as a partially finished attic. And I showed you the habitable attic notes up above.
If the attic wasn't inhabited, right, if it was just attic space, the house would be in compliance?
Essentially, yes, we didn't change the, if I go down, like, let me just scroll down to my report, which I think you should have all gotten an 8-page report from me. Let me just go down to that. Did I
In
have a
connection with
picture
this
next to-
application?
Yes, did you get this? This is the
No.
beginning of what I'm talking about, an 8-page document that I submitted about 12 days ago.
Yeah, I have that. John, you have that?
No.
Should be with the application.
It came in after the application, but it was distributed before the 10-day period, or on the 10th day.
What happens if there's a fire? How do people get out of the third story?
Basically, it's considered, they have egress windows around the perimeter of the third floor. I call it a third floor, the attic, the habitable attic. And we have the compliant interior stair. It's not an attic stair. It's a fully compliant, code compliant stair. And it satisfies the building code as far as the use of a level like that, where we don't need a second means of egress or a fire escape, but because we have the egress windows and we have the stair. So the code allows that.
I'd be terribly claustrophobic if I was up there, I'll tell you. I'd be seriously worried about how I'm gonna get out.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. I thought I saw a picture, Ms. Curlin. Can you show us the outside, that picture right there? Is that a stairway going up to the third floor on the right-hand part of the house there?
No, that's a dotted in line.
Okay, so there's no external stairway to the third floor, correct?
No, there isn't.
Okay, number one. Number two, back to Mr. Jacko's question. If the third floor is not going to be inhabited, why do you need a bathroom up there?
Well, it's a habitable space, which means that they could put an office. A lot of people today they're working out of the house, or they have guests.
We understand that, but the point being, this is looking like, as Mr. Chairman said, a two-family thing. So that you've changed quite a bit.
It's, the thing is, you can't even get to the attic without going through these 2 front bedrooms. There's no way that anybody could rent that attic and have an apartment or anything. It's just because there are elderly relatives who might come over and they're up there and they don't want to have to go downstairs to use the facilities. That's the only reason.
That would be good. That would be nice to hear in your primary testimony. Thank you.
Okay, so here I just want to show that this is the original approved elevation from 2014. And you can see the note, the habitable attic, and then here's the house as it was built. It's really substantially just the same as was intended.
Thank you.
How many
ahead, John.
kitchens are in this building?
I'm sorry?
How many kitchens are in this building?
Just one kitchen.
On the first floor?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, there's the issue of occupying and using space in an attic is not prohibited in the zoning code. What you get is, and you have to give to Mr. Grogan credit, he maximized the support up there in accordance with the different codes. Jennifer is right in kicking it back to discuss it. And if we'd had this discussion that first came before you, the configuration or what have you might have been different, but that's water over the dam.
John, in your opinion, are we looking at any significant issues here that are, the one question was not asked is, how does this 2.5-story house fit in the neighborhood? Are there other homes that are of similar size? Can somebody answer that question?
I didn't study that for this hearing, but I can tell you that around the neighborhood, people are building definitely 2-story houses with dormers. I don't know. I couldn't tell you offhand, what's up there. I could do a quick maybe a Google map if you wanted me to do it.
I used to live on this street, and the answer to that would be no.
Okay.
No is two stories.
I mean, it is
No,
a
it's
2.5-story
it's
house.
Construction, 3-story.
It is a 2.5-story house with a dormer, which was exactly what was approved. It's not, we didn't add any extra height or, you know,
What exactly is the height?
It was 30 feet, wasn't it? I see that.
it's allowed to be 35 measured from the average grade to the mean rafter height. And this was an original plan here. I'd have to see if I have I might have it. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna see if I think I have it here somewhere. (11.8). This is an 11.8.19 as built. This should be it here. So you see the average grade line right here, and measuring from there to the mean rafters, 30 foot 1 inch, or 30.1. Let me speak with that. Yeah, 30 foot 1 inch is what I've got there. So we're well under the 35 foot allowable height.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I have a query. Would it be appropriate for us to ask for a report from the fire district as to the safety of the third floor or half floor or attic, whatever you want to call it?
sure give me a lot more comfort. Can we do that, Mr. Chadwick, Mr.
Yes,
Holloway, Mr. King, somebody answer?
yes.
I think they can inspect it and give us a report.
I can tell you that they did review those plans as part of the permit, and so it was already pretty much reviewed for the compliance with egress and.
Yeah, Mr. Witness, you've given a lot of testimony about what other people have said. That's called hearsay. And the board really can't make a decision on hearsay. So if you have that document, then you should present it to them, and that would satisfy it. You've said a lot of things about how what other people agreed to and what other people saw or didn't see, but yet we find you here. And if what you say is true about what other people said, I'm having a hard time to reconcile why you would be here.
Right. Well, it came up at the last minute, and we didn't really understand why, because we felt we did communicate that it would be a habitable attic, and you're looking at it right here. But
I have a question about the side door to the basement.
Yeah.
Was that put on the original plans? Because I saw a picture. You went by it fairly quick. It's actually a doorway, a covered doorway. It's not like a Bilco door.
No, back in before we finished the construction documents, we went to Jennifer and asked if we could put this outside stairwell on the back corner of the house where we had some deck here before. And it was always intended to have a roof on it over that portion going down to the basement. So that roof is under the sill of the kitchen window, essentially. It's at the height of the guardrail of the deck. And that she approved that. That's part of the application tonight, is because apparently at that time that she approved it, it was being counted as improved lot coverage, not building coverage. And so that's one of the variances. That's one of the reasons we need the change in building coverage tonight. That is the reason.
And that basement's not a separate apartment, is it?
No, it isn't. It's an unfinished basement. We added that just for egress and to make it easier to go into the basement to service the mechanical equipment, which is all right in here.
But your plan showed that there's a bathroom down there, a full bathroom.
Well, they are thinking in the future of finishing the basement, but not as an apartment. It's just a recreation area. And yes, they were thinking for the same reason, to keep someone from having to go upstairs to use the facilities. We had always anticipated putting one down there.
Why a full bathroom? Why not just a sink and a toilet? You're not going to have anybody living down there. You're not going to need a shower or a bathtub.
Well, could you go back to the basement, the plan of the basement, please?
This is the as-built basement. Do you want which one do you want? The
So
original.
this is the as-built, but I thought I saw something with something that looked like a kitchen, no?
No, there's no kitchen. Oh, well, what you may be seeing is the dotted line of projecting from above. Sometimes I'll show where the sink is to help the plumber see where to plumb the sink. But let me go up to,
So there'll be no bedrooms in the basement.
we do have provision for future sleeping in the basement. Like if kids come and sleep over and there's a little, gathering and they
But
need.
isn't that what your third floor is for? How many people? I mean, is it a big family? I guess
They have guests come for extended periods or they have gatherings. They tend to have large
it's
gatherings.
like an apartment. Okay.
It's not an apartment. It's just, for example, if there's a gathering and they don't want to drive, maybe they had a drink, they don't want to sleep, and somebody wants to crash. It's just to give them a little more elbow room to allow to, or in-laws might want to come and stay for a week or two. So this was the original approved basement plan from 2014. And we showed a potential future bathroom here. We labeled it that way. And I think we talked about it. We have an egress window. We went to the trouble of putting a window well and an egress window in, anticipating that we might have some sleeping in the basement. We wanted to make sure it was legal and safe.
And is there other, like, there's other rooms that, I mean, could you theoretically, you could put a kitchen down there?
Well, anybody could do something illegal, I guess, but that's not the intention here. There's one interior stair that is used from the single family house above, and it's just a recreation area. But if they want to in the future, if they finish this basement and somebody wants to sleep down there, like for a short period, if they're sleeping or some kids are visiting and they're having a slumber party or something, and we wouldn't allow that unless we had egress and we had possibly a bathroom for them, so they don't have to go up every time. That was the only thought.
So we have some issues here. We have an issue of the fire inspector. We have an issue that Mr. Holloway is not happy with the site plan. Is that correct, Mr. Holloway? You'd like to know where the dry well goes to?
That's correct. I expect the revised plan.
Whatever other abatement they're gonna try and do for runoff.
Correct.
What else do we have a concern about the height? Mr. Chadwick, Mr. Holloway, do we have a concern about the height?
No.
No. And based on what's permitted, they can put a bedroom up on the third floor without any input from us, correct?
We've got to verify that through the fire marshal.
Okay, so that's a concern.
Mr. Grogan says he's already got it.
Oh, when we see it in writing, then we'll be happy, correct, Mr. Chadwick?
Yes.
Okay, so does the applicant understand what we need before we can move forward?
Well, if I could just say that we're not sure how much more delay would be involved, but we do have a finished house. And when I said that the fire inspector reviewed it, what I meant was I do have a picture of his initial cover sheet for the permit where we did show that as a habitable attic, and he approved having a habitable attic up there as part of the original permit.
Does he have? Do we have that in writing?
I can bring up a picture of that cover sheet. I believe I have here. I'd have to find it in my file, but I'm sure it's on the official set of plans.
But Mr. Grogan, do you think he realized or understood that you were going to put people up there sleeping? Or do you think he maybe thought it was going to be an attic where people would go up, store things, and maybe sit around?
Yeah, I think we need a formal confirmation from him that he understands that this is a sleeping area. We need a formal document that shows the necessary drainage. The height, we're okay, Mr. Chadwick? Did you answer that? I'm sorry.
Yes, I did. As part of the CO process, fire subcode official is going to sign off. So they're in that process, I gather.
Up and down, they are very old.
So as soon as he's either going to sign the jacket on the building permit, stamp the plan, something. So
Right.
that's what we,
All of that-
that's what we need.
Yes, they've been very closely communicating with us about the attic, about the future. Everything we're doing there has been very closely monitored. And
All we want to see is the document.
okay,
Get it
so
to us.
can,
If you can get us
can
the
you-
answers for this in the next meeting, I think we'll take 10 minutes. And I don't know, is there any concerns from any member?
Yeah,
of the
I
board?
have concerns. I have concerns
Okay.
over the applicant, the architect's fluctuating intentions and variables in this project. I mean, somebody's got to rein this project in. It is a 3-story house. It is contrary to the scale, the configuration, and the aesthetics of the neighborhood along this street. That's my concern.
Okay. I don't fully agree or disagree with you, but you're in the right direction.
can I come back to the dry well comment?
Sure.
I think I don't know if you can even possibly approve this subject to the fire officials' confirmation, but that's if you think we should come back, then so be it. But when we talked about a dry well before, I just want to make clear that there was never a dry well proposed on this project or required by the engineering department. They had always anticipated that the runoff would be directed to the street or to this inlet if feasible. When Armando mentioned a dry well, what he did was he was told, or at some point, the concern of runoff from the sump pump going out in the middle of winter was brought up. So he dug a pit, just a small pit in the back with some crushed stone, and all that is receiving is the sump pump water, which is very minimal. So it perks into the ground easily, and that's what they meant when they said dry well. It wasn't a structure that was put in like you're used to seeing with the big rings.
All right, let me poll the board. Ms. Schneider, you are not in a position to vote tonight. Is that correct?
I know what I would vote if asked tonight, but
Okay.
Mhm.
I understand. Why don't I see any more faces here? There they are.
There's a
Mr.
survey, though.
Berkowitz, your thoughts on this application?
I'd like to see a report from a fire marshal.
Okay,
It looks like a lot of house for a little lot.
okay.
I mean, I think I'd like to review the resolution we used to pass this in the first place.
Okay, Mr. Parikh, your thoughts on this application?
Same thing, I'm concerned about, this may turn out to be a multifamily home, a rental or something, in a basement. And, also the fire, I'm concerned about the fire in the attic. So those are two of my concerns. So I will not be, deciding tonight, as
Okay.
to I can vote or not.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplan.
I pretty much echo what's been said before. I'm not currently in love with this application.
Mr. Willens?
My concern, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Kogan, is the fact that there was three things that were anticipated possibly in the future. An attic that might have some guests stay up there. Now it's got a bathroom. A basement that may have some extra family stay over. Now it has a bathroom. I'm feeling like it's a little bit of a shell game from the original approval. I'm not comfortable, and until you can answer those for me, I would not vote for this application approval.
Who else is here? Mr. Reddy is here, right? Mr. Reddy?
Yeah, same thing here. I want to go over with the fire department as well as the engineering department to address those issues.
Is there any other member of the board here?
I have one more thing to add, aside from the fire issues. If I'm not mistaken, this is one of the more narrow lots, especially at the frontage of that whole street. And I would also state it's one of the smallest lots of, maybe aside from one house on the opposite side of the street, in the whole neighborhood. Would I be correct in that, sir, Mr. Gogan?
I think the lot is fairly consistent with other lots along that street, and I'd have to bring up my maps to verify, but I don't recall it being much smaller than most of the other lots along that strip. Although it might be, I'd have to look at
I
it
think
again.
it's one of the more narrow ones. You may want to check that.
So we did not need a variance for side yard, and we built to the allowable envelope for the building.
How many,
And
how many cars would fit on the lot? In the driveway?
Let me just go back down to the.
I think the picture showed one in the driveway and one in the garage, if I remember correctly.
Right. So we have a driveway where you could pull over with a guest parking here and still have a car next to it and one in the garage. So you could fit three.
So
on
with
the
all
property.
yeah, but with all the fluctuating, anticipated, theorized guests that would be here, then everything else spills out in the street. Am I correct in assuming that? Meaning parking?
If they had a gathering and there were more people, there's plenty of parking along the street for guests. For all the residents, they park that way.
Yeah,
Most of the houses do
I'm
have
talking
driveways.
about, I'm not talking about guests. I'm talking about those who are going to be taking up the bedrooms and everything that's encompassed in this project.
Yeah, I mean, really, I just want to emphasize that the original approval in 2014 showed a future bathroom in the basement. It showed the egress window. It showed, it didn't have the outside stair, but that was just something that Jennifer did approve. And before we finished the plans, we went to her and asked her about it. And the attic was shown as a habitable attic. We built the house the way it was approved. If you look at the front picture again, you can see that it was built as it was approved. And I don't think it's fair to say that we're sneaking in all these bedrooms and bathrooms. Yeah, yes, the bathroom in the third floor was an afterthought after the board approval, because we had two bathrooms stacked right under it. We said, if you ever have somebody up there and they don't want to have to go downstairs, it's safer for older people not to have to go up and downstairs all the time. And these people do live long lives, and they have, relatives that come over for a period of time. And if somebody's up there, they want to be able to have a toilet handy, So that's why we did it.
I think that's even more, Mr. Chairman, that's even more concerning if an older person is up on a third floor and God forbid there was a fire.
Yeah, Mr. King, can we, if we do approve this, can we restrict the bathroom in the basement to just a toilet and a sink and not a shower or a tub?
Oh, I'm going to put in that it's not going to be, there's going to be no kitchen. I can put all those things, but no, you really can't restrict, the full bath.
Well, how about if they agreed? If they agreed as part of the application?
Well, if they agreed as part of condition, yes.
Because we're dealing with a lot of sleeping areas in this house. I can't believe that we would now need sleeping in the basement. You got how many bedrooms in this house on the second floor? How many bedrooms are, Mr. Gogan?
We have
4 bedrooms? 4 bedrooms?
It's basically a 4-bedroom house with
4 bedrooms, and then you've got a 5th bedroom upstairs. Bingo, you got enough sleeping area. You don't need sleeping in the basement too. That would not be a normal situation.
Right. I just can tell you that the entire construction code in New Jersey is all about fire safety. Almost the whole thing from the whole history of building codes in New Jersey, the primary focus is fire safety and exiting and egress. And they would not allow us to have sleeping in a basement or an attic without satisfying what they have found to be proven methods of safety, for life safety, for egress and for other aspects.
I'm more concerned about the quality of life in the neighborhood. If we have at least 6 bedrooms in this house, it far exceeds the customary house on Adelphia Road. And this is
the attic would not be a bedroom. You're gonna
put a full bathroom and a bed up there. Come on, it's a bedroom. You can call it whatever you want. Call it a den. Call it a family room. You're going to make a bedroom out of it.
It's not going to be a bedroom because you have to,
Mr. Gogan,
remember, you
listen,
have
look.
to enter through the
Look,
front bedroom.
Mr. Gogan, this meeting was supposed to be over at 7:30. It is now 8:10. We're going to carry this case. We'll give you, Nora, second meeting in July. Can we squeeze them in for 15 to 20 minutes? Where's Nora? I lost Nora.
I'm here, hold on, let me take a peek.
Okay,
We're
worried
packed
me.
pretty tight.
How about the next meeting? How about the first meeting in August?
Hold on.
Put it on with St. Christopher.
Yeah, no, you wanna put, if you're only talking about 20 minutes, half an hour, I don't know. Hold on, let me take a peek at the 1st August.
Mr. Chairman,
I apologize.
while she's looking, can I ask a quick procedural question?
Sure.
We have a member of the public who has said that they would like to just make a short statement, and I don't know if they're going to have to come back at the next meeting or if you would be able to hear the statement
No,
tonight.
next meeting.
Next meeting.
Your application's not finished yet.
Oh.
We don't
So-
let anybody speak until the application is.
So next time, okay.
Why don't we try to stick them in July 28th?
July 28th, we're going to carry this case without further notice, and you'll give us whatever extensions are required. You're going to come back with a survey that finalizes the drainage. You're going to come back with a fire prevention report on the access to the 3rd floor bedroom. It's a bedroom. Call it whatever you want. It's a bedroom. And I seriously want your applicant to consider that they will never put a bathtub or shower in the basement. Okay, voluntarily do that as part of this application. They don't need it. They don't need it, okay? Motion to carry this case to the 28th of July without notice and whatever further extension is required.
One other quick comment. Is there any way that you could authorize a temporary CO just for the two floors? No.
Not within our power.
I don't think you can do, I don't think we have the power to do that. Do we, Nora?
No.
No.
We don't have the power to do that. We don't have the power to do that.
Yeah, they're going through a little hardship with the temporary housing.
They
I'm
should.
sorry, we've gone through hell.
Yeah,
okay?
little baby.
And we're trying, we're doing 3 meetings a month to try and get caught up.
Okay.
Okay.
I just.
Did someone make a motion to that effect?
So move, Berkowitz.
Is there a
Second, Jaskowitz.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All ayes, okay. We'll see you on the 28th of July. Please come prepared. We want to get you in and out as quickly as possible.
Okay, we'll submit those documents.
Would that be live? Would that be live or virtual?
That will be a live meeting.
Live.
Live, not virtual, live, Mr. Gogan, just so you understand.
The 28th, you said, right?
Yes.
Okay. 7:30.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn the special meeting 45 minutes later?
So move, Snyder.
Second, Jaskowitz.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Okay. Can we call the next meeting to order, Nora, or do we have to do anything special?
Just made the
Yeah, let's
announcement.
start the next meeting.
Okay, announcement is made, adequate notice of this meeting has been given, and that is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 at Second New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. Do your thing, Nora.
Okay, this announcement's for members of the public who have joined this meeting on their computers and selected to use the phone option for audio. If you dialed into the system using your phone, you will not be able to raise your hand to comment. To have the ability to raise your hand and comment, you must do the following: leave the meeting, join the meeting, or rejoin the meeting. When selecting audio, choose the option to have the system call you and input the number you wish to be called on. This option will pair your computer with your phone and will allow you to raise your hand to comment during the public session.
I'll call the roll.
Berkowitz,
I'm here, but I'd like to say I was also here for the 7 o'clock meeting, even though you couldn't see me.
Jaskowitz,
Here.
Kaplan, Parikh.
Here.
Ready?
Yeah.
Snyder,
Here.
Willens,
Here.
Chairman Ira Kane.
Present.
We also have our board planner, Mr. Chadwick, our board engineer, Mr. Holloway, and our board attorney, Mr. King.
Here.
I didn't notice that Mr. Kaplan was here at the beginning of the last meeting, but he's here now. And I want to publicly apologize for him. The way I called him out at the last meeting was totally inappropriate for me. I was a little frustrated over the backlog of cases we have, and therefore, Nora and I have come up with a plan, and you may have heard it already. It's going to be 2 special meetings, one in September, October, November, 2 are in September, October, November. It's going to be based on what Nora thinks will work. These meetings will go from 7 to 9. They'll be residential and small Cs only. And all I expect is 5 members. So I will be at both meetings. And all I ask is that you consider at least one of the 2 special meetings. Hopefully those 8 hours, 4 hours of time will get us caught up on the residentials. Okay?
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. Again, Mr. Kaplan, I'm sorry.
Water under the bridge.
Yeah, sometimes my Italian temper just gets stupid. Okay, so I don't think this resolution is ready. Is that correct, Nora?
No, that resolution's not ready, though.
Okay.
We are going to announce tonight a special meeting for the St. Christopher's property,
Yes.
August 18th.
I have a motion to schedule the next meeting for St. Christopher's, August 18th.
So moved.
And is announced, no announcement is required, and they'll give us whatever extension is required, right, Nora?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second, Snyder.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so we'll be, and that'll be a remote meeting, right?
Yes, that'll be virtual.
Virtual.
It's 7:30.
That's 7:30, correct.
7:30.
Okay, go into the cases. Application 2031, Driver Krama Pala, 1 Greenbrier Road, C variance to relocate a shed and install a 6-foot-high fence. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I'm here, sir.
Sir, if you could raise your right hand, do you swear affirm testimony you're about to provide to the board is the truth so help you God?
Yes, sir.
And
You
for
hear
the
me, sir?
record, you're the owner of the subject property?
Yes, yes.
Mr. Chairman, the witness has been sworn, so you can drop your hand and have a seat on your couch.
Okay, so I'm looking at your survey, and you want a 6-foot-high solid fence running along Ashwood Place, and it looks like it runs about, I can't tell the number of feet, but it's a significant part of your property. Why do you need a 6-foot-high fence?
So my kids are very younger. I have a girl, 13-year-old, and a boy, 9-year. For a safety and security of my kids, I need the 6 feet.
But you don't need 6 feet. How about 5 feet with 1 foot open? 5-foot-high fence, the top foot, 1 foot is at lattice work. How's that sound to you?
Yeah, we go for that.
6-foot stockade or solid vinyl fences are very ugly. And you're on a main road, a secondary road that I'm sure has traveled quite a bit. And it looks like you've come all the way out as far as you can. You're not even buffering it at all. You want a 6-foot-high fence, I would say you plant a arborvitae every couple of feet, so we driving by don't see it. Or would you like a 5-foot with a 1 foot lattice?
Yeah, that's fine for me.
That's fine.
Hold on for a second. This fence line is right by the sidewalk. Am I reading that correctly?
Well, it's got to be set back on the property line. It's got to be 6 inches off the property line at the most.
Yes.
At least.
Yes. We'll take that.
What are you thinking, Ms. Schneider?
Well, I mean, again, this is like, this is a walkway, and, he doesn't have any mitigating circumstances, like a hugely busy road, and it's like, it looks like compound, like if it's too close to the sidewalk. We had other applications similar in nature, I think on North Beverwick Road. Actually, no, make that Vale Road. Does it have to be that close to the sidewalk? And again, I think he attested he would set it back, but I mean, is 6 inches? Is this what we want our pedestrians to look at in these
No.
corner lot areas?
I fully agree with you. Would you be willing, what are you looking at, Ms. Schneider? What are you looking at in terms of setback?
I don't know, just something that looks a little scenic, so like pedestrians could enjoy some, green grass as they walk their dogs. I don't know, Mr. Chair, I'm open for suggestions. Just something that restores the nature for the pedestrians in our area.
Would you be looking at like 2 feet in?
Yeah, 2-3 feet would be fine with me.
Yeah, I'm
Mr.
fine with
Paula,
that.
can you move the fence in 2 feet?
No problem. We really respect the pedestrian and their green environment is a priority for me. No problem. I will move 2 feet inside. Not a problem.
Okay.
And then hold on for a second.
Yep.
That fence in the front, right? So that's at the front of the house, not like towards the, you know what I mean? Towards the middle or the back end of the house. Just something that just doesn't make it look like it's a
Well,
compound
to
in
be
another
hon-
country.
To be honest with you, when you put a fence like that, it usually goes to the corner of the property from what I have seen. It usually goes, it meets a corner.
The front corner of the house?
Yeah, I've seen that many, many times. I don't think, well, I'm not as concerned about that as I am about what you said about the side piece.
Well, I equally share that. I'm more concerned about the side. I was just thinking maybe we could set back that front, maybe a foot or two to enjoy the front facade of the house. You know what I mean? Think about the house instead of like flush with the front corner of it. But that's the least of my worries as opposed to what I just mentioned before.
I could go either way on the thing. Like I said, I think aesthetically, when you build a fence like that, if it goes to the corner of the house, I think it looks better. And again, he's gonna go for the 5 feet with the 1 foot lattice, which will make it much more decorative.
So, Mr. Chairman, is that 4 foot solid with 1 foot lattice for a
Yes.
total of 5 feet?
Total of 5 feet, yes.
So the applicant should know it's not a 5 foot solid and 1 foot lattice. It's going to be a 5 foot fence instead of a 6 foot fence.
Can I stick my nose in here? Did you ask them if they have any landscaping along, what is it, Ashwood? Yeah.
Yeah, they should put some there.
Well, is there any there now?
I don't think so.
No, there's nothing there now, John.
No.
Did
Maybe
we,
a tree.
did we ask the applicant?
So can you repeat the question, please?
Do you have any landscaping along your property along Ashwood?
Along the property Ashwood, I don't have any landscape. Landscape.
Is that-
It's all plain area. Yeah.
You took it out?
It was not there.
Really?
Mr. Paula, is there a sidewalk on Ashwood by your house?
Yeah, there is a sidewalk. Yes.
And the trees that are along the sidewalk, what was your original proposal? To put it inside the trees or outside the trees?
The fence.
The trees will be outside. My fence will be inside. I'm going to say the trees will be outside of the fence. That's my proposal.
So if you put the fence inside the trees, you're going to be 3 feet in from the sidewalk, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're already there at 3 feet.
Yeah, you're already there in 3 feet.
Do you hear that, Ms. Schneider?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
What I would stipulate, I'm looking at the same information Bob is that the fence is to be on the property side of the trees. I guess inside is probably a better way to describe it.
The house side.
That's correct, John.
Don't specify feet because you're gonna have about 3 feet from the sidewalk to his property line. Those trees probably are right on the line. Which means that they're gonna have to be, when they put the fence in, at least 2 or 3 feet away from the trees.
తీసుకొస్తారు ఆ లెవెల్కి 4 feet.
And that way, the issue that we talked about in terms of having like a wall along the sidewalk should be muted with the keeping the trees there.
Yeah, it's, if you move it in a little bit and it's 5 foot with the lattice, I think the fence is gonna look very nice, because you're gonna be inside the tree line, and the trees will buffer the look a little bit. It'll break up the, aesthetically, it'll break up the look of the fence. Is there anything, oh, what about the shed?
Yeah,
You gotta move that.
Probably gonna have to move it.
You're gonna have to move that shed in a little bit, aren't you? Why are you asking for a variance on the shed?
yeah.
There is
It is
no.
a science. It is a science called Vastu in Indian custom, right? The weight should
you-
be on the southwest side rather than northeast side. The northeast side.
Okay, so
vacant,
you're
yeah.
gonna move the shed 6 feet and 6 feet from the corner. It looks like you don't need a variance for that.
Yeah, it does. He's in the front yard.
Oh, it's in the front yard. Okay.
Yeah, it's the front yard.
Yeah, but it's gonna be
backyard
behind the fence, so we don't, that's a de minimis issue.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, Mr. Paula?
No, sir. Just a fence. Green
Is there
signal.
any other questions by the board?
For question like finally, I just want clarity. Like it's a 5 feet solid and 1 feet.
No.
5
4
foot
foot solid.
fence. 5 foot fence. 1
4
foot
foot
and it
solid.
has to be open. We're trying not to create a stockade neighborhood. That's what we're trying to prevent.
So I'll go with whatever you provide. No problem. Whatever.
Okay.
Try to go for it.
So it's 4 foot solid and 1 foot lattice.
John, it'll be in the resolution. Mr. King will spell it out succinctly. Any other questions by the board?
No.
Are
I
there
just
any
want
members?
to, this is Casey, I just want to make it clear. In your application, you are saying the shed will be relocated 1 foot off the property. That's not true then, right?
Can't be.
That's what your application here says. So just, I want to make sure it is going to be what you are showing on the drawing. 6 feet. Correct?
Mr. Paula, 6 feet on the shed?
6 feet.
That's what's on your plan.
Yeah, shed is not 6 feet, right? It's less than 6 feet, and that will be, I think that will be equal to level with the fence what we have, and from the fence to the shed there will be additional distance we'll maintain. So there will be no shed won't be taller than the fence. And only I'm doing was presently I have a shed from a northeast corner of the plot. I'm moving the shed to the southwest corner. That's all. And shed there won't create any restriction.
Mr. Paula, if you look at your document, your survey, there's a little square that says shed. If you look at the lines coming from the back property line and the side property line, you've got 6.5 feet. I assume that's 6.5 feet from the line. Is that correct?
From the line of the fence, I can say that.
From the line of the fence.
Yeah,
Okay,
from the line of the fence.
okay. I think
Yeah.
that answers it, right, Mr.?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions by the board? Any members of the public have any questions of this witness on the testimony given?
No hands.
No hands. There's nothing else you'd like. Oh, are any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to this application, in support of this application? No
No
hands.
hands.
Okay. Someone like to make a recommendation? So we can move on.
Yeah, I'll be voting for it. We've adjusted the height to 4 foot plus 1 foot lattice, and he's agreed to the changes we've asked. So I'll be voting in favor of it.
Someone make somebody make a,
Motion.
somebody frame a motion, please. Oh, my God.
Long day. Hear you.
Okay, I will, in application 20:31, Trivik Rama Pala, 1 Greenbrier Road, block 705, lot 16, zone R3. that we approve a C variance to relocate a shed and install a 4-foot solid, 1-foot lattice high fence set back in accordance to what was testified today, contrary to section 430-35, column 4, section 430-11, A and B.
Second ready.
Is there any discussion? Nora, call the roll.
Berkowitz.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Jaskowitz.
Yes.
Kaplan.
Yes.
Parikh.
Yes.
Reddy.
Yes.
Snyder.
Yes.
Willens.
Yes.
Hurricane.
Yes. Result is the variance is granted. We'll memorialize this at our next meeting. Okay, let's call case 2109, Dominic and Donna Tanella, looking for about 75 variances. I'm sorry. Mr. Tanella or Mrs. Tanella, are you here?
You have to
Hello?
unmute, sir.
Who's on mute? I'm not on mute.
No, Donna Tanella was.
Can you hear us?
Raise your right hand. You swear firm testimony you're about to give before the board should help you God?
Yes, we do.
For the record, you're Dominic, Donna Tanella. You're the owners of the subject property, 9 Woodbine Trail.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the witnesses are sworn.
For the record, I think I've done business with this
Yes, you have, Bob.
many times. By the way, my wife wants to have our FOIA done, so I'm gonna have to call you again.
You know who to call.
Yeah, I know. Mr. King, I hired Mr. Tanella to do work at my office a couple of times.
I would, out of abundance of caution, I would just step down.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Schneider, you can take over this meeting.
Okay, Mr. Tanella, all right, you're looking for following variances, legalizing a couple of sheds, a roofed outdoor bar, pavers, two concrete areas, patio, pond, pergola, and pool equipment. Would you kindly go over the project and why you feel it's needed?
Okay, well, first of all, we moved in here in 1990, and the pool equipment, the walkway, the shed, the patio were here. We did rebuild the shed. We did have the walkway rebuilt, and we did build a bar, and we did redo the patio. This was all done, good grief, 25 years ago. And basically that's it. The other concrete area was a basketball court for my kids that we redid as a storage locker and a pavilion. And the reason we did all this is we have extremely high water tables in this area. And we found that out after we moved in 1990. And like I said, the pool and all the other stuff is here, but the basketball court and the other thing we did in the yard was to stop the water. We did put drains around everything, and we ended the drains in our yard so it wouldn't go anywhere else.
So how did you end up here? Did somebody call on it?
It seems to be that way because I've been here 31 years and we get along with everybody, but out of the blue, yeah, I guess so. Somebody said something. We really don't understand. Well, we don't know. We don't know who did it. We don't know who it was. I know we get along with everyone and we help everyone and everyone helps us.
Doesn't matter who it was, you've been cited, right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
It doesn't matter who, you've been cited by the town for a violation.
Well, somebody, yeah.
Okay,
We don't
so-
know who.
But the point being you're making, this has been existing since how many years?
All pervious coverage that we have, minimum of 2.5 decades.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Have you put up anything new recently?
Yes, last year we put up a pergola around the pond because our fish were getting attacked. So we thought, as a matter of fact, we think that's what caused this whole thing because I put the pergola up about 4 or 5 inches above the fence.
And the mistake I made was I should have put it about 4 or 5 inches below the fence. It's a screened in thing, just to protect the fish.
Your guess is right. Is that pergola open on the sides?
Well, it's a screen. Yeah, we could open it to feed them and things like that.
No, I mean, no, it's not solid wood or.
Oh, no, no.
It's just screening to keep bugs and birds out of there.
Yeah, mostly herring. You know, our fish were constantly attacked, so that's why we did it.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, none.
No.
Chad, do you have any concerns on this? John, any more?
No, I think we got to the why he's here.
Mm-hmm.
Up and it's an open frame kind of structure. I have no questions on it.
Okay. Would anybody on the board would like to state their position on this, this application?
And Ms. Schneider, if you could just open anyone from the public with any questions.
Yeah, anybody in the public who is willing to testify, or rather ask questions on behalf of the applicant's testimony at this time?
No hands.
Okay.
Anyone wants to
Anybody
say
would like to proceed in commenting in favor of this application or in opposition of this application? No
I have
hands?
one hand raised. I see a Michael Nigan. Can
Yes,
you
this
hear
is
us?
Michael. Yes. I am a neighbor of Don's at 11 Woodbine. I just want to say I'm in support of Don in this. Don and his family have been very good neighbors to me and my family. He has always been more than willing to lend a helping hand to us whenever needed. And I don't have any issues with his property. And I think that it looks very nice and it adds value to the neighborhood. That's all I have to say.
And sir, are you directly adjacent to this property? I would assume so, right? Being at 11 Woodbine?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor or in opposition of this application?
No other hands.
Okay. Would anybody in the board like to frame or comment on this project before we frame a resolution?
I'd be voting for it. You're just letting something that's been around for 25 plus years. You just had a neighbor that spoke in favor of it. You're protecting your fish. Sounds good to me. So I'm a yes.
Okay, would somebody like to form a resolution, please?
Go ahead, Scott.
All right, application number 21:09, Dominic and Donna Tonella, 9 Woodbine Trail, block 466, lot 10, zone R3. Recommend granting C variances to legalize sheds, roofed outdoor bar, paver walks, pavers, concrete area under shed, concrete area around pool, patio, pond, pergola, and pool equipment contrary to section 430-10, C side and rear, 430-35, column 8, concrete area around pool, concrete pad, pool equipment, section 430-35, column 9, area undershed, pond, pergola, and pool equipment, 430-35, column 10, and finally, section 430-35, column 13.
Do you have a second?
Second, Casey.
Okay. And Nora, would you call the roll, please?
Berkowitz,
Yes.
Jaskowitz,
Yes.
Kaplan,
Yes.
Parikh, Ready,
Yes.
Snyder,
Yes.
Yes.
Willens,
Yes.
Hurricane. Oh, sorry. Recuse.
All right, your application has been approved. We'll memorialize this in approximately 2 weeks, so maybe 3 or 4 rather.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. You have a good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Night. All right, I yield the floor back to Chairman Ira Kane.
You can turn your camera off now.
Hello there.
You're back, Bob.
Is it over?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you approve it?
Yes.
I figured I had it till at least 9 o'clock. Come on.
He's a pillar in his community.
It was all pre-existing.
He's a good guy. He's good, does beautiful work. I had stains on stairs that were just that some contractor, and I was figuring on replacing the carpet. He came over and said, I can fix that. And he did. He did a beautiful job. Highly recommend him.
And
All right,
that's why
Zoom
you
on.
and that's why you recused yourself, Bob.
That's right. And he's a neighbor. He's right around the corner. I walk past his house all the time. Okay.
And that's
so
another
Zoom-
reason why you recuse yourself.
Thank you.
Good counsel.
All right, Zoom Auto, 1903, Mr. O'Neill, I guess we're looking for, right?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members
Good
of the
evening.
board. Joseph O'Neill for the applicant Zoom Auto. When we were last before you in December of last year, we presented an application for 75 cars on this lot. We have greatly reduced this, and to go over that, I have Mr. Stewart with me this evening, who was sworn back in December. I'd like to bring him back to testify. Mr. Stewart.
Okay.
I got ambushed.
Nancy, you're not on mute.
What's going on? Where's Mr. O'Neill? Your witness.
I'm right here. I've introduced Mr. Stewart.
Go right, if he's
Stewart, are you
previously been
ready?
sworn, you can go ahead and take care of it.
Yes, I'm ready.
Mr. Chairman, he was already previously sworn. Mr. Stewart understands that he's still under that oath, and he will testify truthfully to the board.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Your license is still in order, right?
Yes, it is.
So why don't we go over the plan that we were submitting for the last meeting? Which
Sure,
is
I can
now-
do that. If I may, can I share my screen?
As long as Earl can take care of that for you, yes.
Okay,
Just give me 1 second.
sure.
You should be good now.
Yes, there we go. That should be the one. Can everyone see the plan in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. This is the plan that was submitted to the board back in March for the March meeting. It's revised to March 6th, 2021. And I'll go over the revisions that we completed for the plan. Zoom into the area. What we did here, we formerly had 75 parking or display parking stalls on the site. We reduced that down to 64. We did formerly have a couple areas where there was some triple stacking of the vehicles that we have removed, and we rearranged slightly, and we got the number down to 64 display cars on the site. What we also revised was to bank these 3 stalls here, D, E, and F, for customer stalls, because we do have 3 customer stalls in this area right in front of the building. And we felt if there was a need in the future, we can basically put these stalls in if need be, if we find that the 3 stalls aren't sufficient. But basically from what I understand, the applicant does state that the 3 stalls are sufficient because the number of people that do visit the site typically would be around 2 or 3 at the most, and the 3 stalls in front of the building should be sufficient to accommodate the customers. We also are proposing to stripe the entrances in this area here, as you can see, that crosshatch area, along with the arrows, along with the stop bar at both access points. Again, the arrows, stop bar, and the striping as you're entering the site. This way you will direct the any customers to the proper areas. Along with that, we are also providing some signage. We basically have a stop sign here with a no left turn at the 46 access. Same thing over here at the Cherry Hill Road access, a stop sign along with a no left-hand turn sign, because there is no left-hand turn to get out onto Cherry Hill Road here as well. Basically, with the signage and the striping, that will help circulation throughout the site for the customers, mainly the customers. It's a simple site as far as ingress and egress goes. We're proposing only to 1 access off 46 and 1 access off Cherry Hill Road, and directly near the parking for the customers themselves. That's basically the revisions that we have made to the plans. I think the biggest thing was just dropping from 75 display areas to 64.
You've also increased the ability to maneuver vehicles on the site by eliminating those additional parking spaces. Is that true?
That is true. That's correct. Like I stated earlier, we did have some triple stack stalls in a little bit tighter areas. We did take them out, which will allow for better maneuverability. And this way, when we have 2 parked vehicles deep, that's it, which will again allow for better maneuvering throughout the site for the display vehicles especially.
Mr. Stewart, I have one other question for you. Mr. Chadwick points out that there's a pre-existing sign on the site. That sign is the sign that has always been there. Is that the case?
That's the case, yes. There's 2 pylon signs, one located on the westerly portion of the site and one on the easterly portion, which is right here.
So do you have any information on how old those signs are?
They've been there for quite a while. I don't know exactly how long, but I know they've been there for as long as I can remember.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. I have no further questions for this witness.
I'm going to go to Mr. Chadwick.
I'm sorry, is there no left turn from Cherry Hill into this lot?
There is a left turn into the property, yes. There would be a right turn off of Cherry Hill and also a left turn.
You don't have any, I mean, I'm trying to think how to phrase this. You don't have any concerns about that? That area backs up significantly during particularly the 5 o'clock rush hour. And I'm a little concerned about the left turn going into there from Cherry Hill.
That's a shooting gallery, Mr. Kaplan. Take your.
I live right there. I'm well aware of what that entails.
Take your life in your hands, making a left turn.
Yeah, but is it illegal? Is it a legal left turn? Is a double yellow there?
We've had this conversation before. I'm not sure we got.
Well, according to Mr. O'Neill, you can't cross a double line.
You can't. That's illegal.
Ms. Snyder is absolutely correct. You cannot cross double yellow lines. There's not supposed to be a left turn there. And I'm sure the applicant would be willing to reinforce that with a sign that says no left turn on the site.
Thank you.
We can provide that at Cherry Hill Road.
Good point, Mr. Kaplan. I'd just like to defer to Mr. Chadwick with regard to this revised application and his comments. Mr. Chadwick, are you satisfied with this new plan? Because we're still stacking cars.
No, the answer is no.
Okay.
I mean, what you have, let me just beg it. He's got an approval for 25 cars on the site. He started out by almost doubling that number. Now he's cut it back from 75 to 64. What you don't have is any improvement for the site aesthetics. Because he wants to maximize putting cars on the property. And to me, you know, I don't know how long it's been a used car lot. It's got to be going on 40, 50 years.
No. That was a gas station.
But
That
how,
was a gas station prior to the improvements of the road.
and when did that happen?
I'm gonna say about 30 years ago, 25, 30 years. Yeah, give or take. That was,
All
there
right.
was that was a gas station.
I know it was a gas station.
Yeah, that used car, we approved the first used car lot there. Let's see, probably late 90s, maybe like 90s. I'm guessing 97.
I think you're right.
I'm sure that we can find out. But
it was 25 cars. He wants to more than double what you approved before. I agree. I agree with the testimony. I believe it was the owner, the manager, that he needs a bigger inventory on the site. But I think he also has to come up with some way of making that site more presentable to the roadside. One of the big things in all of your planning documents going back 20 years is to try to improve the aesthetics of 46 and all the basic highways in town. And part of it is through landscaping.
Well, Mr. Chadwick, given the existence of the pavement on the site, there is, however, lawn area that you see in the plans. That is part of the easement area for the Cherry Hill Road and the highway. That is, however, maintained by my client. We can provide plantings in those areas. Subject, of course, to their
If you
by
can,
DOT.
then make a proposal.
I'll leave that to Mr. McDonough, who's coming up.
you know, I travel to Ocean County quite often, and I'm in Manahawkin quite often. And there's a Manahawkin auto used car lot. And I pass it and I'm so impressed because all the cars are lined up like soldiers. There's access to every car without moving another car. It's a rectangular piece of property, I understand that, but it's done right. It's full of cars, but it's not obtrusive like this application. It really is just.
So the applications, how many cars are parked on the site right now?
At this moment?
Well, yeah.
70 cars.
7, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Mr. O'Neill, yeah, how many times have you been before us with this property? I think your partner.
At least once before. On
I
this
think your
application.
partner did the original plan back in the 90s. And then there was at some point there was a plan with one of the towing companies, I believe, to rent U-Hauls out of there. Did that ever come before us, or was that never got to that point?
That was not by us, but my understanding is that application did come to you and you did approve that.
That was not your application.
I think it was withdrawn.
Yeah, I think it was withdrawn. I don't think it ever went through. And the original application, and I will never forget this. Mr. Serbo was there saying what a nice look this was going to be. It was going to be all upscale cars, Mercedes, Jaguars, BMWs, and they only wanted 25 cars. It sounded okay. It doesn't sound okay anymore. I'm sorry. Any other questions by the board? Questions, Mr. Woolens, Ms. Schneider?
I just have a couple of quick ones.
Go ahead, Mr. Berkowitz.
How many employees?
I'm gonna have, I don't know if Mr. Stewart has the answer to that question.
Okay, you can have somebody else testify who does?
We can, yes.
I have no more questions.
I have a question. Where are the customers going to park in this?
ABC.
That would be stalls A, B, and C directly in front of the building. This is the
Okay.
front entrance to the building.
So just 3.
There's 6 stalls, D, E, and F, A, B, and C. Isn't that true, Mr.
Okay.
Stewart?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I got.
So then the D, E, and F stalls won't be banked, and you'll stripe them as parking?
We can, yes, we can do that. But I figured that if they weren't necessary, from what I understand, they're not. But if they are necessary, if he sees in the future they're necessary, we can simply stripe them and they'll be available.
Okay, so then your testimony is there's only 3 stalls, A, B, and C, for customers to park in.
That's correct.
Where will the employees park?
That's where I was going.
Yeah, from what I understand, there's simply, I believe, I might be wrong with this, but I do believe the number of employees is like about 2. And they could use the customer stalls as well, but then that would eliminate the possibility of customers parking there. So that would then turn to stalls D, E, and F if they were necessary.
Sounds like we're not banking D, E, and F, so that's 6 stalls.
True, yes.
So your current operations now, what's the average customer, the amount of customers that come see you in a given time? Is it really needed?
It's basically 1 or 2 from what I understand at any given time. There may be 1 or 2 people in there, but at a given time.
Even on weekends?
That's what I was told, yes.
Again, I think we need a testimony from somebody who knows the operation.
We'll redo that testimony in a moment.
Are we going ahead, Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I was distracted for a moment. What was the question?
Are we moving ahead now?
Yeah, well, is there any more questions of this witness?
No.
Any members of the public have any questions of this witness on the testimony given this evening? Nora?
No hands.
You got another witness, Mr. O'Neill?
I have 2. I'm going to recall Mr. Berenson, who's the operator of the site.
Okay.
Paul, are you on the line? Paul, are you on the line?
Sorry. Do you still need me to share the drawing?
Hello.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Do we need the drawing for the next testimony?
Yes, if we could leave it up. Could you leave it
Okay.
up?
Okay.
Paul, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Now, there were some questions that they had about the operation of the site. I know you've testified in December, but let's go over a couple of things again. How many employees?
And Mr. O'Neill, he was sworn in December. He understands that he's still under that oath and needs to tell the truth to the board.
Of course.
Thank you.
Mr. Berenson, we were asking you about the number of employees on the site.
There are 3 employees on the site.
3
No
employees.
more than 3, generally, yes.
Where are they going to park?
We generally occupy at this time. One of the cars is parked on what's designated to be customer parking stalls, simply because until we receive an approval from the board, they're not striped. And this is the best that we can do to guide them to park in the right direction. Other cars, one of the employees generally drives a car from the dealership. We always test drive cars, so they're simply parked back in one of the spots. And one of the other cars is parked in whichever spot would be available.
So these are the 6 spots shown here, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Are they sufficient for customer parking and employee parking?
Absolutely. We actually have very little intent to use DENF simply as an overflow. I mean, banked, but they've never been not sufficient.
What's the highest number of customers you've had on the site?
I think on a Saturday we may end up having 3 customers at a time, and that would be too busy. It's just anything more than that overwhelms the number of employees. We schedule appointments for everyone, and we space them out to ensure that everyone gets the attention they need. Fortunately for us, that also limits the number of customers and the number of cars on the property. Customers' cars on the property.
So nobody drives onto the site?
No, clients can drive onto the site, but for the most part, we do very well with control of client appointments.
Understand. Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness.
Questions for this witness?
I have some.
Go ahead, Mr. Wilkins.
How many cars do you average selling a month?
Since the beginning of the year, we're pushing an average of 50 cars a month.
And how was it before the pandemic?
Before the pandemic?
Yeah,
I believe statistically numbers were about 30, 35.
So as cars get sold, you bring new cars in, correct?
Of course. Can't sell what's not there. Empty shelves don't generate revenue.
So on a given weekend, how many cars would you say you would sell?
That's not an entirely accurate question because sales happen every single day. I think on a high Saturday, well, maybe.
I apologize. Let me restate.
No. It's not a complaint against you. I understand exactly what you're saying. Saturday being the busiest retail day of the week, we will peak at 6 cars on the average, 4.5, and that's on a Saturday. During the week, we'll end up averaging about a car a day, actually 2 cars a day.
And how do you replace them? In other words, do you have X amount of cars coming in every couple of days, or do you call up and say, well,
for the
we need to
most
have a car?
part.
Excuse me?
Yeah, for the most part, it's sort of it's like a rotating wheel. Without being able to predict what we will sell and when, nonetheless the volume is consistent, so we buy at a fairly consistent volume to what we sell.
Do you have cars stored off-site someplace?
We have been able to get a small storage facility a few miles away, closer to Skyline Auto Auction. Not the most convenient solution, but we've been able to get a small spot and store cars there, yes.
And I guess, excuse me if I'm repeating questions from December, because I don't remember a lot from December.
Nor do I.
How long have you been in business there?
Are you referring to the dealership or me personally?
You personally.
Me personally, I've joined this dealership about close to 4 years ago. As far as the industry experience, 20 years.
Well, I guess in your 4 years, what's the average amount of cars that you've always had on site? Has it increased over the 4 years, or it's been steady?
Mr. Berkowitz, I think he's indicated that it's gone up since the pandemic.
Well, that's the sale. Well,
the sales. Were you asking about sales?
No, I was asking about storage. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I mean, you're asking for 64 cars. So.
Right. He's asking.
I was wondering how many cars you had there over the course of the last 4 years. You have 70 there now. Is 70 a number that you've had there for a while, or is that a new number?
We're probably at the height right now. There might have been a point where they've been slightly higher, but for the most part, we're at the height. We feel that generally pushes our boundaries, our own boundaries of comfort. It is not our intent to have more than what we can handle. And what we can handle is what we can easily handle on the property.
I have a
I don't have
question.
any other questions.
So the site was approved for 25 cars originally, and you've had as high as 70, right? And now you want us to approve that for 60, which is more than twice the original approval. Is that correct?
I was not affiliated with this property or company when the original approval was issued, but yes, we're requesting an approval for more units than this site was approved for 30 years ago.
More, almost 3 times as much. But so my question is, what would be the minimum number of cars you would like to have on the site and still have a profitable business there?
I'm afraid I'm not entirely prepared to answer that question. I understand it's a matter of compromise. We feel that our proposal creates a comfortable and appealing site layout, comfortable in the same sense of our ability to maneuver cars around the property, while still maintaining a reasonable level of profitability. Now, mind that profitability depends on margins, and margins in every industry do change. But we've come to a conclusion that our proposal shows the number of cars that we think is reasonable for this property. As for any other number, of course, that would be up to the board.
When you say appealing, that this is an appealing number of cars, can you describe what's appealing about it and to whom is it appealing?
Good question, absolutely. There was a point at which we said probably close to 80 cars, and that's absolutely overwhelming. It is not our intent to jam-pack every square inch of this property like herrings in a can without being able to pull them out, because it's inconvenient and it's not workable for us. We're not gluttons. We don't intend to consume and eat any more than we can. We have to maintain a reasonable amount of inventory that we can easily, for our own sake, move around the property when a client wants to see the vehicle, take it for a test drive. So I think in terms of aesthetic appeal, something that's neat and organized is, for the most part, such to both us and to the members of the board, I hope.
So I guess my question is, as a board, what are we looking to accomplish? Is it aesthetically to get some plantings to make it look better? Or do we have a problem with the amount of cars for safety issues and maneuverability? Or the fact that they have to unload cars on offload cars right off of 46? I'm not sure where we're heading.
Well, if I could jump in here for a moment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Since Mr. Berenson is now fluctuating on how many cars he wants to park on the site, and since there have been comments regarding plantings, it seems this would be a good point to request an adjournment of this matter to allow Mr. Berenson to finalize the number of cars that he wants on this site so we can stop wasting the board's time.
Any objections to that?
Would that include some landscaping plan?
That would include landscaping, yes, it would.
And Mr. O'Neill, I like that proposal, but back to my question, if I look at the current lot and the number of spaces available around the outside of the lot without double stacking any places, there's 46 spots there, not 25. Could he consider, please, coming back and saying, hey, one car around there we could work with? So then a proposal. I'm not saying I approve that, I'm just saying, pardon?
Absolutely, we will discuss that.
Thank you.
Mr. Willens, how about not to exceed 50 cars?
Well, I'm not, right now, Mr. Chairman, I think it'd be good for the applicant to come back with a proposal.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, a motion to carry this case, and when are we carrying it to? My good friend?
October 6th.
Yeah, one
October
more
s-
issue that you
Yes.
didn't discuss is how they get the cars to the site.
Well, we covered that at the December hearing, but we'll cover that again.
Is there any police reports on trucks parked on Route 46?
Mr. Berenson, has there been anything since December where you've been cited for parking on the, on Route 46?
No, we've never been approached by police regarding any of our car deliveries or pickups.
There have been a number of instances.
Not that I'm aware of, actually.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a specific question. There have been a number of instances where trucks along 46, instead of using the ramp to turn right and go south down Cherry Hill, turn right at the traffic light at the intersection of 46 and Cherry Hill, and repeatedly take out either the telephone poles or the traffic lights. Have any of those been your delivery trucks, to your knowledge?
Absolutely not to my knowledge, and I don't believe I've ever seen that happen here. I think we've seen a few accidents.
Is that an
I've
illegal
seen
right
a wild
turn, Mr.
accident
Kaplan?
here a couple of weeks
It is an
ago.
illegal right turn there. They have to use the ramp.
No right turn.
Okay, do I have a motion to carry this to October 6th without further notice and with whatever extensions are required, right, Mr. O'Neill?
Yeah, so moved. I have a question real quickly, sir. Do you service corporate fleet desires and demands?
To clarify, service, we don't provide any service as far as
Meaning,
selling.
do you have corporate clients that look for fleet services of any kind in addition to your individual client, retail client?
Yes, of course, absolutely. We have vehicles that are being sold to corporate clients and service corporate clients.
How many corporate clients do you have?
Unfortunately, in this business, it's not consistent. I can tell you how many corporate
On
vehicles
average.
we've sold to such. I would say half a dozen a month.
Okay. Thank you.
What's the date
I
in
can tell you that
October?
we've had several Mercedes-Benz Sprinter vans that were previously owned by the Chicago Bulls that we recently sold to corporate clients. Now, one of them, I believe, is servicing Liberty sports team out of New York. The other one is ending up servicing Wall Street clients in Hamptons.
Thank you.
Used car business is good, isn't it, Mr. Berenson?
It's gotten better after the pandemic, Mr. Chairman, absolutely. But that's not because, I mean, we're blessed, but it's not our fault that the entire industry and the entire world is upside down, right?
Yes.
There are no cars to be bought.
That's what I heard. Well, good luck to you in terms of your business, and we will see if we can figure out a way of making everybody happy.
We would very
So
much
we made the
appreciate
motion.
it.
Is there any objections to the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we will see you on October 6th. October 6th.
Right.
Okay, can we call that? Is Mr. O'Neill's next case yours also? Yes, it is, right?
Mr. Chairman. Yes, it is.
Okay, case number 1921, Pacific Outdoor Advertising. Preliminary measures, final site plan with a C&D variance to construct a billboard. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did start this application back in March, at which time we stopped it right at the beginning because of a notice issue regarding the increase of the size of the sign. I had begun with Mr. Jacobs testifying. What I'd like to do, with your permission, Mr. Chairman, is start over again, even though Mr. Jacobs has been sworn, to just start that testimony again so we can hear it all at the same time.
Okay,
Mr. Jacobs,
he's been sworn, right?
you have been sworn. Could you introduce yourself again? And the board has seen you on one other thing. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. There was a prior application for Pacific Outdoor Advertising on Route 287, and at that time, Ms. Snyder indicated that she would never vote to approve a billboard in Parsippany. So for that reason, we are asking that Ms. Snyder recuse herself.
Yeah, that, Mr. O'Neill, I appreciate that, but that's no reason for her to recuse her. Does she have any financial interest or any benefit from this application?
I think I stated the reason for my request, Mr.
Okay. Well, I don't think that's an appropriate request. I think every board member here listens to the testimony as long as the testimony is accurate and they believe it's truthful and it's supported by facts. They'll make a decision on it. And if
That's not what she indicated. She indicated she would never vote for a billboard in Parsippany.
well, that's maybe an opinion. I don't remember that, and I don't see that it's a issue or problem. However, you can always take it up with the Superior Court.
Mr. King, with regard to this application and how controversial it might be, do you think you're taking the correct approach there?
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue. You know, again, we don't know how she's going to, vote, and we're asking someone to accuse themselves based upon a feeling. There's many people like yourself, Mr. Chairman, who you're against 6-foot fences. Should every application that you that comes before this board on a 6-foot fence, should you recuse yourself?
And I have voted for 6-foot fences. Depends on the circumstances.
And that's exactly my point.
Fences are not guaranteed by the First Amendment, and billboards are. So Chairman Ira King saying he doesn't like 6-foot fences is not a violation of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. But saying you don't want to vote for billboards in a town is a violation of the First Amendment. So it's not a good analogy.
It's a very good analogy, Mr. O'Neill. And if you have an issue, then go to court.
I'm gonna say it again, Mr. King. Considering this might be a very controversial application, are you sure you want to take that approach?
I have no problem taking that approach.
Thank you. Okay. I guess that's it, Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you. With that, I'll call Mr. Jacobs again. Mr. Jacobs, will you reintroduce yourself, please, to the board? You have been previously sworn and you are still under oath.
Yes, my name is Joseph Jacobs, and good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I'm the president and owner of Pacific Outdoor Advertising.
So, Mr. Jacobs, you're already operating a billboard here in Parsippany, isn't that true?
That's correct.
And is this going to be a substantially similar billboard to that billboard that's currently operating?
It's very similar. The size is the same. The height is the same. And what I've done with that billboard on Etten Road, which shows Route 287, I've gone to the city and I've asked the city if you have any emergencies, we can post those real time, or if there are any events or anything of any public nature that you feel important, we can post those. The city had contacted me about posting some thanks for first responders in the midst of the pandemic, and we placed those on the billboard immediately. And I also went to the governor's office and I asked if they needed me to post anything on billboards that I had in Parsippany or anywhere else in the state of New Jersey, that I was prepared to post those messages immediately to help during the pandemic that unfortunately have impacted our state and the entire world.
And have you done that?
Yes, I have.
So you posted, I believe, at the request of the administration here in town, thanks to emergency workers. Is that true? I remember seeing that.
Yes, that's correct. And the other thing that I did, it's very similar because there's an office building which abuts the billboard to help the tenants in that building. And even today, I advertise when space is available for the tenants in that building at no charge, just to help the tenants who service and occupy space in Parsippany.
Now, this use is regulated by the state of New Jersey on an interstate highway by agreement with the federal government. Isn't that true?
That's
Department of
correct.
Transportation.
Yes,
And
yes.
you're subject to very strenuous permitting requirements and requirements concerning the displays that you do on these signs. Isn't that true?
That's correct.
Have you obtained those approvals for this site?
Yeah, yes, we have. We meet all of the rules and regulations and requirements set forth by the Outdoor Advertising Division of the New Jersey Department of Transportation.
What are some of the things that they regulate? If you could just go into that very quickly.
They regulate height, they regulate size, they regulate whether it's static or digital. They regulate spacing from other billboards. They regulate spacing from other billboard permits. They regulate spacing from ramps. Those are primarily the things they regulate.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jacobs. I have no further questions for this.
Mr. O'Neill, I'd like to add
Unless
one
you have
thing.
something else.
No, I do. I can't stress how important digital billboards have become in our society. They're used frequently by the FBI, the U.S. Marshal Service. One of the things we can do in real time, if there's an emergency, God forbid, if a child's lost or a person's abducted, we can work with your emergency management office and your police department and put those on the billboard in real time. Any other emergency that you may have, whether it involves a traffic accident or something else in the municipality, we can place it on the billboard in real time. It doesn't matter if the billboard is sold out. We put those up immediately. And the other thing we do, we'll put up silver alerts, amber alerts, gold alerts. So digital billboards really serve a purpose for the public, to make the public aware of any emergencies. And at the same time, one of the commitments that I've made to the township is that if there are events that you deem worthy or you want to get out to the public, we can post those on the billboard as well. So it really serves that kind of purpose. And what makes this site so unique, this may be the only 10-lane highway in the state of New Jersey. So it's a highway that's extremely appropriate for signage and billboard usage.
Mr. Jacobs, not to interrupt, but, and I appreciate all the good that you might be doing with these signs, but the fact is, it's a business. It still could be an eyesore. It could still be a distraction, and you might be spending 2% of your time in doing these good deeds. But the fact of the matter is, you're still in a business, and it still could be an eyesore. And I was one who voted for the last project. But I got to tell you, when I'm driving on 287 and I'm going north, I have found it to be a distraction at times where I am looking up and seeing what the sign says, where maybe that's not the greatest thing. So I think we still have to be focused on the fact it's still what it is. It's not just you're not here just doing a public service and a public good, right? There are other ways that there's other ways that silver alerts do get out, like the phone. It's which might be less intrusive and more safe.
Not in your car.
One of the other things that we've proposed to do with this particular sign, the adjoining neighbor who has an office building, I've met with him, I've spoke to him, and I've made certain accommodations with respect to this project. And to help him, he recently purchased a building sometime over the last year, I believe, is that with respect to his tenants, we would do the same thing that we've done on 7 Enton Road, and we would advertise their businesses also to help with the building, to help with the tenants, and to try to facilitate and help with the folks who live in Parsippany.
Any questions of this witness by the board? Any other questions of this witness by the board? Mr. Holloway, any questions? No? Mr. Chadwick, any questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Mr.
Stacy.
Parikh.
How do you how do you decide what goes on the board? I mean, there must be some regulations, right? You don't put anything and everything in that, on that.
Well, yeah, we don't put tobacco products on the board. We don't put anything that we believe is offensive to people or communities. If you look at the board at 7 Etton Road, it's advertisements that are appropriate. And in addition to that, if you look at the advertisements on Etton Road, you'll see that in that office building at 7 Etton Road, we're advertising every single tenant who occupies space in that building at no cost. And we put things like Coca-Cola on it. I mean, things that are not offensive to the public.
It is what you believe.
Well, it's not just what we believe. The government won't allow us to, the government won't allow us to put any tobacco products on there. We don't do any type of pornography at all. We're permitted to do that, but as a policy, I don't do that with my company. There's nothing that will go on a billboard that I would not want my children to see.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
I was looking for Mr. Chadwick. Does Mr. Chadwick have any questions?
Yeah, just two questions. The first meeting you commented that you had raised the billboard from 40 feet to 60 feet, which resulted in the renotice requirements.
That's correct.
The reason you pushed it up from 40 to 60 was what?
That's what the neighbor requested me to do. When I met with the neighbor, he asked if I could raise the size of the height of the billboard to 60 feet. So it would be comparable to the one that I did on Etton Road with respect to his building. He made that request and I said, absolutely, I will do that. And that's what I've done.
You keep referencing Enton Road as being comparable. Do you know the exact height to the top of that billboard?
Yes, it's 60 feet.
You're positive?
I'm positive it's 60 feet, yes.
Okay. The other question is the display on the board. Do you do any animation as part of the segment of advertising?
And when you say animation, there's no moving parts. I think if you look at
the image itself, is it also like a cartoon or something?
No. It's like a static billboard. It's a static billboard, except it's digital that changes in that case, we did it every 8 seconds or every 10 seconds, but there's no animation at all.
Okay. You agree to leave it that way?
Oh, yes, we wouldn't do any animation at all.
Technology, I think.
Sorry, Mr.
You will not do it.
Will not do it. No animation.
I don't have any other questions at the moment.
Any members of the, any members?
Yep, I have a
Oh,
question.
go ahead, whoever you are. I can't.
It's Dave.
Okay, Dave.
And I'm not sure if this is for the applicant, maybe Mr. O'Neill, maybe even Mr. Chadwick. Was there a lawsuit with the township a couple years ago that established areas where billboards like this could be put up?
I don't have any knowledge of that.
I can answer that question. There was an attempt to put a billboard up near the Holiday Inn in a very benign spot. Would have in a static billboard, not an electronic billboard, and it was in a very an area where there was no residential. This board turned it down. It was the company out of Fairfield. I think at that point it was CBS Advertising or something like that. They've changed the name about 35 times. And because the council at that time denied all boards, the court said you can't deny all the boards. You have to, I believe you have to establish certain areas that are permissible subject to other conditions. And that is as much as I remember. We're going back, I can tell you it was when Ann Grassi and John Cicero were on the council. So if you can figure out when that was, about 10 years ago. But there was definitely a lawsuit and it went through the channels and eventually maybe the Supreme Court, state Supreme Court said, hey, you can't deny them.
So from what I vaguely remember, I am acknowledging not being an expert on this, that the settlement, and I do remember it was with Ann Grassi. Settlement said there could be one by Route 80 in Smithfield and the other one on 287 by Town Hall. And if that's the case, my question is, so if those are the permissible zones, does that impact this application, or are they still seeking the variance saying we don't want to put it in those zones, we want to put it here? And if that's the case, I'd want to know why they don't want those zones that were approved, assuming I am accurate. Why don't they want to go in the approved zones, and why are they looking for a more residential area?
Probably because they can't get the property owners to agree in those spots, Mr. Kaplan.
Well, if those
But
were
I'll defer
approved
to Mr. Jacobs. Mr. Jacobs, are you aware that there are spots on the highways that are your billboards are permissible?
No, I'm not. And I am familiar with the town. It appears that the town is trying to obtain a billboard approval near your town hall, but that's the town moving forward itself to try to do that. And that again is a site where billboards are not permissible, but the town itself is trying to, they have moved forward. They don't meet all of the DOT requirements. And when that happens, if you're a municipality, you're able to get DOT approval and go before the State House Commission to get those exemptions. And I believe that's what the town of Parsippany is doing with respect to a site that's owned by them near Town Hall.
Yeah, I think if my memory serves me correct, there were requirements that the property be of certain size, and there might have been some other constraints, which I think severely limited the opportunity for a billboard to go up without a variance. But there were some areas that were designated, but I don't think they had adequate square footage on the property. I barely remember what I had for breakfast, but I was part of that application. I voted in favor of the Holiday Inn application because A, it was not an electronic board, and B, it was the only question was it was near where 280 and 80 came together, and there were some constraints along those lines. But again, I don't know if Nora has the ability to drag out that application or not, but
Mr. Chairman, I can also tell you that the rules and regulations have changed over the years. For example, on 287, I don't think you'll see another billboard in the township of Parsippany on 287 because years ago, if you had a population that exceeded 40,000 people, you were exempt from ramps and things like that. Now you're not. So the only other spot where it could go on 287 is what the township is presently trying to do and get its own permit. I'm not sure what the purpose is, and the same with Route 80. There just aren't many spots available for billboards anymore because the state has made it so difficult. So it's very difficult to get a permit today from the state of New Jersey for a billboard, and I have one of the few on Route 80. And I had the only one, as of right now, I have the only one on 287, and I have one of the few on Route 80. That's an approvable location by the State Department of Transportation.
So you did not attempt to purchase a permit for the location near Smithfield, correct?
No.
And you weren't aware that that was an acceptable location?
I don't know if it's an approvable location by the DOT. And when I
Is
say
it
that,
possible that the township would have settled for that location if it was not approvable by the DOT?
I'm gonna stop it right there because no, hold on, Joe.
Okay.
There's no way for Mr. Jacobs to know what the reasoning was behind a settlement 10 years ago that we weren't parties to. So he's already testified he didn't look at the.
Joe, I mean, it's fair. Your client is an attorney. He's a land use attorney, so he may have known.
Hold on, you're asking him what the motivation was for a settlement 10 years ago?
No, I think they were asking if he knew.
Smart, but come on.
I think they were asking if he knew about it. I don't think they're.
I asked if he knew and if he applied. I don't see that as unreasonable.
He's already said he has.
No,
That's fine. He could answer no. That's fine. I'm trying to get the information here because what I see is, a large billboard. Someone attempting to put this billboard very close to a residential neighborhood when I believe there's already a permissible use along the same highway, and he's not looking to go there. So I'm just trying to get all the information I can, inform myself before I vote on this.
So you have information about the analysis of a specific site at Smithfield as an alternative site for the billboard. Is that a summation of your question, Mr. Kaplan?
That's fine. I got the answer to my question.
Well, Mr. Kaplan, would you want to know what took place 10 or so years ago in terms of the court decisions and what is permissible and what's not permissible? I remember in testimony that if we were in Newark, it would be a totally different scenario because of certain. It was a very convoluted system. Mr. Jacobs, are you familiar with when you're putting a billboard up in a city versus a suburban area? Isn't there differences in the requirements?
Yes, there are. Yes.
Yeah.
If you're along a highway that's considered not to be a limited access highway, the spacing is only 300 feet. But if you're on a highway like Route 80, which is considered a limited access highway, the spacing is 1,000 feet for a static billboard and 3,000 feet for a digital billboard, and you have to be 500 feet away from ramps. So I can tell you there aren't many locations where a billboard could be built, period, in the township of Parsippany, where Newark, for example, you can go along Route 21 and every 300 feet, you could have a billboard. That can't happen on these major routes in Parsippany.
Mr. Jacobs, my understanding, back to Mr. Kaplan's point, is the township here, you've been a good representative in the town here. That's not the issue. The issue is the courts in the township approved locations for your kind of business, okay? And one of those is another location. I think Mr. Kaplan's point and my question to you would be, the site you're looking for right now is not one of those sites that the township cited as approvable. Your testimony is that you don't think the site they have approved or in the settlement would be suitable for your sites or approved by the state. Is that true?
Hold on. Can I ask a question? Because while we've been talking about this, I've double checked the ordinance and I can't find permitted billboard signs. So maybe Mr. Chadwick or Mr. King or Mr. Kaplan can tell me what this site is and we'll take a look at it.
When these applications first came in, I went back through the ordinances. The town did adopt billboard regulations and placed them in certain zones. They subsequently repealed those. The details of the court case, I am vaguely familiar. I would have to go back and look at that. But you're correct. Currently in the code, zoning code, there are no regulations. They aren't permitted.
They're not permitted anyway.
So
But
to
the town, you have to,
I don't know what
yeah,
happened.
let me finish. The township itself can do anything anywhere it wants. It's exempted itself from its own zoning ordinance.
But they can't do anything at Smith Fields because I was, just to go really down a rabbit hole, I was involved with trying to get a cell tower at Smithfield, and that's Green Acres. You can't put
Right.
anything commercial on
Right,
Green
right.
Acres.
Except if you do a transfer.
So to Mr. Iricane's point before, when, I think we've all, there's enough information here to say that there was some lawsuit about this and there was some potential settlement agreement. I would like to know more about that in order to intelligently make a decision on how I want to vote.
We will address that.
We'll take care of that, Mr. O'Neill. Thank you.
I sure
And
will.
I also believe there's a portion of Smithfield that isn't related to Green Acres money. That perhaps that is the area where this billboard can go.
I don't want to contradict you, Mr. Kaplan, but I remember we crawled all over Smithfield. There was no place to put it.
I'll take
But
your
I'll
word for
double
it.
check that. I'll double check that also.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Jacobs? Any members of the public have any questions of Mr. Jacobs? Nor do you see any hands.
Yes, we have Philip Rosenbach. Can you hear us?
Yes, am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Good, thank you. All right, I guess I have questions. Mr. Jacobs, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I'm an attorney and I represent Robert and Julia Peterson, who live in something called the Livingston Benedict House.
I'm sorry, who do you represent?
The Petersons, Robert and
Petersons,
Julia
okay.
Peterson.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. All right. So, Mr. Jacobs, let's start again. I represent them. They live in the Livingston, the Livingston Benedict House. Do you know where the Livingston Benedict House is?
Yes, I do.
All right. And can you describe for us where it is then?
Hold on a second. Listen, you're asking the questions. You want my client to describe where your client lives? Don't
Yes,
answer the
I do.
question, Mr. Jacobs. Don't answer.
You can't instruct him not to answer.
I just did.
Well, I want to know what he knows about the area, Mr. O'Neill. I don't care what you know. I want to know what he knows.
I'll tell him it's the house on the shoulder of the highway
Objection.
across.
How dare you? How dare you feed him information?
Okay, guys. No fistfights here, okay?
I just think it's so improper for an attorney to tell his client what an answer to a question is. I mean, come on, let's be fair here. And
Mr. Jacobs, do you know
it's
where the
Mr.
house
King.
is?
I think it's Mr. King who will let us know whether the question is improper or not, or Mr. Chair, it's you. It's certainly not.
Well, I'm going to ask Mr. Jacobs, do you know where the Peterson house is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so he knows where it is. Now, you have to present testimony to tell us where it is. It's not his obligation to tell you where the house is. You got to present a witness
Oh,
that
I
tells us
will.
where the Peterson house is. Am I correct, Mr. King?
Well, the attorney can ask him information about the area. He asked him if he knew where the house is, and he didn't get an answer out.
Yes, he did. He said yes.
Well,
He
no,
knew
I'm
where it
saying
was.
before his attorney jumped in.
Okay.
But he did say yes.
Okay.
You are aware then, Mr. Jacobs, that the Livingston Benedict House is essentially across Route 80 from your proposed site?
That's correct.
All right. And you are also aware that it is a historic site in Parsippany?
Yes. I believe so.
I'm sorry, what's that?
I said I believe so. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know the history.
Well, let me ask you this. Oh, I'm sorry. And are you aware of something called the Governor Livingston Park?
The Governor of Livingston Park.
No, not the
Oh,
word
Governor
of, the
Livingston.
Governor Livingston Park. Are you aware of that park?
I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar. No,
All right, so you don't know where that is.
no.
So in terms of you seeking to place your proposed billboard, did you undertake any efforts to see whether the billboard might be in the proximity of any open space or any historic areas?
What I did was follow New Jersey Department of Transportation guidelines. And like I indicated, what makes this property unique, it's a 10-lane highway. A 10-lane highway is extremely appropriate for billboard use, probably the most appropriate use of a billboard anywhere in the state of New Jersey. That's what I look for when I look for places to potentially do billboards. And across the highway, it's an incredibly buffered area. You have very high trees, it's buffered, it's great location for a billboard.
Now, you are aware, am I correct, that DOT approval does not eliminate the need to get local land use approval, right?
That's why I'm here this evening, sir.
And in fact, you are aware that you are seeking a use variance for this site, is that right?
Yes,
And also, you're seeking a variance to permit a second principal use to be on the site, is that right?
that's correct.
And you are also seeking a height variance, isn't that right?
Yes,
I know you're not in it, anyway, I don't know, Mr. Jacobs, so let me ask, are you an attorney?
yes, I am an attorney.
All right. But you are not here as your own attorney, fair to say?
You know,
I'm
we'll
not here.
stipulate all of this information about the nature of the application and that I'm his attorney, if it'll speed things along, given it's 9:45.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that, Mr. O'Neill. I just didn't hear it. It was.
We're
Mr. O'Neill,
stipulating Mr. Jacobs is aware of the application's nature and that I am his attorney, if it'll speed that along.
All right. But Mr. O'Neill, I'm sorry, Mr. Jacobs, knowing that one of the variances you require is a height variance, the fact is that as an accommodation for one property owner in town, that being the office building owner, you have decided that you want even a greater height variance going from 40 feet to 60 feet, correct?
I'm going to, hold on, no, we've got other witnesses to testify to the nature of the height variance. This is my first witness. So why don't you wait for the whole application before you attack my proofs?
I don't understand.
You don't
Am I
understand
being
that I've
told
got
that the
other
applicant
witnesses?
does not know he has increased the variance from 40 feet to 60 feet? He's already testified to
He
it.
obviously knows that. I already stipulated that. To
Mr.
try to
O'Neill, would
speed
you like
this
to ask
along.
all my questions for me? Would that save time?
I think so.
Yeah, me too, but then there wouldn't be any. Mr. King or Mr. Chairman, could I be permitted to ask my questions?
Mr. King.
Yeah, ask questions, but Mr. O'Neill has the right to object to them. And then the chairman will make a decision, or he'll ask me to make a legal
All right.
decision.
All right, I'll ask it again then. Mr. Jacobs, is it not the case that you have increased your height variance request from 40 feet to 60 feet simply to accommodate one property owner?
It's simply not one property owner. It is the adjoining property owner. It's the closest property to the proposed billboard. And that's what I do. If they have an issue and I can accommodate them, I'm going to bend over backwards to accommodate them, which is what I've done.
Am I correct that for purposes of operating electronic billboards, the typical cycle, I think you used 8 seconds or 10 seconds. Is it 8 seconds?
That's 8 seconds is what the DOT requirements are. Yes.
And on your billboard on 287, do your billboards switch approximately every 8 seconds?
On that particular billboard, it's every 10 seconds.
All right. And so I know there was a prior question asking, and I may say throwing out, let's say hypothetically, that maybe 2% of your messages are, if I may use the phrase, public service. What I'd like to know is, in fact, how many of the messages on the 287 billboard are public service announcements? And let me be more specific. You talked about either for the benefit at the request of the town or at the request of the governor during the pandemic stage.
That's really up to the town. I've made the billboards available to the town to use as often as they would like to use. And every town is different. I do billboards not only in New Jersey, I do them in different parts of the country. And it really depends on how much a town wants to use it. I can tell you I've gotten letters from the mayors of Atlantic City and Secaucus because of the things that I've done with billboards and in other places as well. So it's hard for me to answer that question. It's really up to the town. It's up to the city fathers to determine how much they want to use it, but it's available for their use.
That's fair enough. But given whatever use has been requested by the town, I'd like to know if you have this information.
Whenever they've made a request, I have filled the request.
And do you know?
That's simple.
All right. And do you know how many times the town has made a request in the last, let's say, well, since the 287 billboard went up, do you know?
I don't recall.
Have you done?
Have I done what?
I'm sorry, no, let me withdraw that. Let me ask you a different question, if I may. You are, I believe, you said you are the president and owner of the applicant here. Is that right?
That's correct.
And was it you who made the decision to seek to place this billboard here, or was it someone else who works for you?
It's me.
So you've already described one of the factors was that this is on I think you said a 10-lane highway, which is as good as it gets for this type of display. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And is it also the case that you selected this site because the owner of the site was willing to allow you to place a billboard there?
I don't think I understand what you're asking me.
I'll try again. I mean, obviously you can't put a billboard there without the property owner's consent. I understand that. So what I'm asking is, was the decision to put the billboard there based on the fact that that was in fact a property owner who was willing to allow it to happen?
Sure.
All right. And so if it had been not that property owner, but a different property owner along Route 80, as long as you felt that the exposure was right and so on, that would have been a different location where you would have submitted the application. Is that a fair thing to say?
No, it's not a fair thing to say. You have to understand what the rules and regulations are that are promulgated and set forth by the New Jersey Department of Transportation. That, like I indicated, digital billboards are spaced 3,000 feet. And you have to be a certain space from ramps. There aren't many billboards that can go on Route 80 that fall in that category. As I indicated on 287, I have the only permit for 287. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. It's not as simple as saying, oh, I can go here or there. It doesn't work that way. And if you're familiar with the regulations that are set forth by DOT, then you would have a better understanding.
Okay, I thank you for clarifying that. I had not included that in the question, and you're right. They obviously, wherever you could put it, has to be permitted by the DOP regs. Fair enough? Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. And again, I appreciate that clarification. All right. You are a for-profit business, correct? At least you want to be. You'd like to be.
Oh, God. Yes, I am.
And do advertisers pay for you based on expected traffic?
Is that an appropriate question, Mr. King? Aren't we getting into business part of this application? That's not something we're concerned about, are we?
Usually we're not concerned about finances.
I think you're heading in the wrong direction, Mr. Rosenblatt. Let's get back on the zoning issues.
Mr. Chair, if I just may, I thought this, or I do think it's a zoning consideration, and let me just explain why, and if I'm wrong on my understanding, so be
Go
it.
right ahead.
But it's because that it pays to put an electronic billboard next to a major highway such as Route 80. I mean, it literally pays to. And I think that is something that can be taken into account in terms of the applicant's motivation that impacts on the town zone plan.
Mr. Rosenblatt, we just heard a case about somebody wanting to stuff 76 cars onto a piece of property that probably shouldn't have more than 40. If that's not financially motivated, I don't know what is. So you continue with your questioning, but I don't think this board is really.
I think you've made your point. I think you have. I think you've made your point, and I will withdraw the question. How's that?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. 957. I don't know. Is there any other hands raised?
Mr. Chairman, I have two quick questions just based on what Mr. Jacobs said.
I just want to hear if there's any other members of the public that have questions.
Yes, one other hand just went up.
Okay. Well, let's continue with the public, and then we'll come back to you, Mr. Kaplan, okay?
Thanks.
All right, I see
Go ahead.
Denise Parker. Can you hear? Do you hear us?
Hi, yes, I hear you. Hello, good evening. I just have a question. I moved to this area roughly 24 years ago. Lovely little lake community. We love it here. We don't want to move. I'm just concerned about the love of the lake, walking around the lake.
Excuse me. You have to ask this man a question. The question could be, is the light going to bother the lake?
That's exactly my question.
Is the lake going to borrow the fish in the lake or something like that? We understand, but this is not the opportunity for you to interject any information. We give all members of the public an opportunity to speak on the application, but that's under sworn testimony. So if you have a question, please ask the question.
Mr. Chairman, if the question is the visibility and light intensity of the sign, that's going to be my next witness.
Okay. The next witness is going.
That was my question, basically. When you're at the lake, are you going to be able to see it?
We're going to have a witness that's going to testify.
The sky, okay.
And you can wait until that witness comes forth, and then you can ask him any questions that you like. Okay?
Yep, thank you.
Any other hands raised, Nora?
No other hands.
Mr. Kaplan, you're on first base. You're up at the plate.
Thank you. All right, two quick questions based on what Mr. Jacobs said. First, you were asked how many requests from the town you've received to put up whatever messages they want, and you said you can't recall. Is that you can't recall as in there have been none, or there have been so many that you can't even keep track?
Well, I get requests from many towns with respect to placing public service announcements or events on billboards. So it's hard for me to say, you know, how many did I do in Atlantic City? How many did I do in Secaucus? How many did I do in Woodbridge or in other locations in Pennsylvania? I don't know, but as a policy, what we do, I know we put up in Parsippany, we were asked if we would put up some public service stuff thanking the first responders. I know we did that. But, you know, from one town to another, there's, you know, different things that are asked all the time. And we do it in real time, so it's hard.
The other thing you described in terms of making this situation suitable for this sign was across the highway were a lot of very tall trees. Are those evergreen trees or deciduous trees that will lose their leaves for 6 months out of the year?
I don't know. I think some of the other witnesses will speak to that. I know that they looked at some of those issues, but I couldn't tell you.
Okay, Mr. O'Neill, tell us.
Our next week, our next witness will take care of that, Mr. Kaplan, for you.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Neill, it's 10:01. I don't think you want to call another witness at this point. Let's see if we can come up with a date. Nora, you're going to pull one out of your hat or what?
Sure I am, October 20th.
Mr. O'Neill?
Okay, without further notice, we'll grant all necessary extensions through the end of October.
Okay, I'm just going to repeat that. No further notice, and Mr. O'Neill will provide whatever extensions necessary. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
So moved.
Any, second? Any discussion? All in favor? Anyone opposed? Nora, any other business?
No other business.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just want to thank everyone for Herculean effort tonight. We had a lot of controversy. We had a lot of good input from everyone. And I love you all, guys. I really do. And we're gonna get caught up somehow. We're gonna get caught up. Okay.
So now we're not gonna see each other until after July 4th, though, right?
That is correct.
So July 4th celebration all, whether you're vaccinated or not, we're gonna party hardy.
Is there fireworks in Parsippany on July 4th?
I don't think so.
Well, I'll be watching the
I don't really know. I haven't heard affirmative or negative.
I thought there were. I thought I heard there were.
Okay,
I'm gonna be
thanks,
watching
Dave.
the fireworks on Barnegat Bay, so.
Okay, you're not gonna be up here anyway, so what do you care?
No. I'll be in my second home.
And I'll be in Michigan watching him on the lake up there, so.
Oh, good. Okay, guys. Have a great
Enjoy.
evening.
Happy
Thank you.
Fourth.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.